hello. Hi. I've got a fruit pastel. Sorry, I'm eating a fruit pastel at the same time. I apologise. Hi, iOS. Hello, Alaba von Despia. Hello, None of Fate. No heresy here. Demons? Demons on Armageddon? Angron? No idea what a demon is. No idea what an Angron is. There's no demons on Armageddon, and there never has been. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works. Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm here. Oh gosh. Yeah, quick tip. Don't decide that you can quickly just have a fruit pastel before the stream. It gets caught in your teeth and it's just like, so chewy. Oh, but I'm nice and smooth. I'm nice and smooth. Oh, my arms. I'm meant to be nice and smooth. Whatever. Oh, oh gosh. How is everybody? It's been another very sunny day. It was meant to be going cooler. It's been super warm today, and it's sad. And where's my Armageddon book? Oh my gosh, my brain is not working very well. What the heck? I'm just all over the place. I'm all over the place. And my throat still feels a little bit weird from all the reading and talking yesterday. Oh. So, if I sound a bit off, and also I've still got hay fever, that doesn't help. Makes me all sound croaky and it's on my chest, and it makes me sound all deep. Makes me sound even deeper voice than normal. And I've already got a deep enough voice as it is. Oh gosh. But how is everyone? On this fine. It's a Saturday. It's a weekend. Oh my gosh, a weekend. I'm gonna party all night on the weekend. Partying every day on the weekend. There we go. I got one glove on. Oh no, these are brand new red gloves. And look, it's got a hole in it already. Oh, that's so bad. Is that a hole on the back as well? No, it's not. Oh. That's not good. Why has my new gloves got holes in them? I don't know what caused that hole. I think actually it came with a hole. But I guess that's to be expected. Oh, but here we go. Here we go. Here's our Armageddon book. This must be our lies. I don't know what Space Marine that is. I mean, they don't there's no demon hunting Space Marine. I mean, it looks like a psycho demon hunting Space Marine. The fact that doesn't exist. I mean, there's no such thing as a demon. I mean, if it was a demon, you would be able to put it into art, would you? So, no, there's no such thing as demons. They're not demons. They're just a weird Xenos. That's not a psychic demon hunting Space Marine. That's just, you know, a Space Marine that forgot to paint his armor. And the Aquila fell off the front of his chest. Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. They're just some weird warp Xenos. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about an Armageddon. No, it's just a crusade. A crusade for Armageddon. But no, there was no fourth war for Armageddon. There was no... There's only been 2 wars at Armageddon, both involved art. Was the first war of Armageddon? There was no first war. There was just the second war, the third war. And there was no 4th war. I'm on to the 5th war now. But yeah, we got demons. We got demons. Hi, Talan. We're just talking about how there's no demons in Armageddon. There's never been demons in Armageddon. There's no such thing as demons. All Are we ignoring the fourth war? Yeah, you don't know, there was no fourth war. This was a second war, a third war, and a fifth war. There was no first war. There was no fourth war. It's just a numbering system, you know. Not every numbering system works the same as every other numbering system. You know, what are these red chaos traitor space marines? No. You're imagining stuff. These are just heretics. No, they're just Xenos. That copied space marines. Yeah, that's it. That's the case. And that big thing, Angron? A Primarch? What do you mean a Primarch? There's no Primarch called Angron. And I mean, I get it, it's just a warp Xenos. A warp Xenos. There's no demons, just Xenos in the warp. Yeah, Armageddon's home to a cube that contains one really big demon. I mean, you're not too far off, to be honest. Okay, now we've done the entire, you know, what the Inquisition wants you to think. Well, some people in the Inquisition. Not everyone. I've almost finished these guys. I know I said that the other day, but they are almost finished. I put the grey on them. I put the known oil on them. Where's my knight? Yeah. I put the grey on them. I put the known oil on them. I've been getting dirt on them. Yeah, look. Oh, you can barely see the dirt, but it's fine. It's fine. I just covered it in dirt and grime. I need to put more dirt on them. Yeah, especially under the cloaks and stuff. But a different shade. And then I'm basically done. And I can throw these to one side. I'm going to have to go back through all the other models and paint the Templar symbols gold on them. Oh, say Space Marines on my stream. Get out. Look, Space Marines.
Space Marines.
Space Marines.
On my stream. Get out.
Space Marines. Space Marines, Space Marines, Space Marines, Space Marines, Space Marines. I mean, that's basically just a very big Space Marine. Yeah, if this book is filled with Space Marines, I'm sorry, Erland. But hi, Erland. Only love Xeno, like Cuptle. Cuptle is not Xeno. Oh gosh, my nose. Hay fever is not fun. I apologise if I sound a bit weird. My hay fever, it's been warm weather here and I've been taking the tablets and they make me super ill. And it's still not worked. Printed in China. Printed in China. Why? Games Workshop should have all of their stuff in the UK. I bet it'll be even more expensive. Yeah. Armageddon, Red Angel's Gate. Contents. Who needs a contents? I like the instruction books of books. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Big old battle with all the newest Space Wolf stuff in. Oh. And Grey Knights as well. Oh, another war for Armageddon. Oh, and look. One of the hardest models to transport in the background here. I mean, you've got Angron, but you've also got Bloodthirster. And then you've got Forge Fiend. No, that's not Forge, that's a Mauler Fiend. Demon Prince. Is that a generic flesh? Yeah, they're just generic flesh hounds. Oh, Blood Crusher. Ooh, Black Temple. Oh, that's the same sort of cross that I'm doing. I'm doing a golden cross of mine. Oh. But we'll go over here for Space Wolves. Even yours. I'm not Xeno. You're Xeno. She doesn't knows. I don't knows. Does she knows? I don't knows. I don't knows because my nose is all bad because of hay fever. I'm a cupcake. We are cupcakes who worship. No, you don't worship chaos. Chaos evil. Chaos bad. There's no such thing as chaos. Now let's read our book about chaos. The Space Wolves, Grimnar's great company. It was Njal Stormcaller who heard the call, whilst in secluded contemplation. The High Rune Priest of the Space Wolves had received a vision. Where's my knife? I need my knife. There we go. Had received a vivid vision. A lupine spectre had stalked into his waking dreams. Sorry, I need to turn my air conditioner on. It's way too hot in here. A lupine spectre had stalked his waking dreams, imparting in his mind a vision of a world on fire, his countenance drowning in blood, as a spirit fixed him with a red-eyed gaze. It growled an urgent phrase that continued to echo through the recesses of Njal's mind hours after leaving his seclusion. Doom comes for Armageddon. Doom! Doom! What was that one thing where the guy shouts doom? I can't remember. I'm a cupcake fan housing slayer or Space Marine specifically. No! Slayer or Space Marine? You're saying you're a furry Space Marine? Is that what you're saying? If that's what you want to be. Also, wouldn't fan housing, isn't like the closest thing we have to fan housing right now Inquisitor Greyfats? The Space Wolves had been engaged in annihilation calls of the Arcs for outer reaches of Armageddon sector. The High Rune Priest received his revelation. The warriors of Logan Grimnar's great company, the champions of Fenris, were spread across a front spanning 4 star systems. Neither were they alone. Elements of the Black Manes, Bloodmars, and Death Wolves were also present, attempting to contain the resurgent Arcs and prevent southward incursions towards a vital Armageddon system. You stopped following 40k stuff ages ago? Oh. Ah, you're saying you're an Inquisitor. Logan Grimnar was left with a difficult choice to make. He could disregard Njal Stormcallers. Is that how you say it? Njal? Njal? I'm gonna guess Njal. Nyancat. Njal Caller. Vision and trust that others would deal with whatever looming threat approached. Or he could trust in his High Rune Priest's wisdom, potentially allowing the Arcs to begin their offensive anew. Yeah. So I got like a hair on my... There we go. Such was the urgency and insistence with which Njal delivered his console, that Grimnar was swayed. The loss of Armageddon would spell disaster for an entire sector. He had learned over centuries to trust the insights of his old council, and knew that he could not risk such a catastrophe from coming to pass. And so the Great Wolf called in his banners, withdrawing all the warriors and material he could spare from active war zones to his flagship, the battle barge Allfather's Honor. He set course for Armageddon system. The Space Wolves reached Armageddon to find its defences mired amid hectic uprising and civil strife. The Fox Master of Allfather's Honor received prioritised requests for aid from Hive governors. As to militarum officers and scattered Space Marine strike forces, unable to respond to every such cry for help, Grimnar identified the weakest point of the Imperial defence and dispatched his warrior packs accordingly. The bulk of his forces landed on Armageddon Prime. Thunderhawk gunships departed their hangar bays, accompanied by armour-laden landers and streams of drop pods. The Space Wolves had come to Armageddon. The Black Templars! The Second Armageddon Crusade. Logan Grimnar was not alone in acting upon a vision. However, that which impelled High Marshal Helbrecht was experienced firsthand in a blaze of golden glory. When it came, he had been crusading against orcs and tyranids of the Octavius sector. As he knelt at his devotions, a towering figure in features obscured by a halo of radiance manifested before him. The figure placed a burning hand upon his shoulder. At a visitor's touch, images of profane desecration flashed through his mind. He saw glass-slick pyramids rising over ashen wastes. He saw cities crumble and burn. He saw brothers die in their droves and blood rain from the heavens. As horrors unfolded before him, he realized that he knew the setting of his nightmarish scene. Armageddon. The vision faded. Helbrecht took a deep, gasping breath and opened his eyes. The figure had gone, leaving nothing more than the warmth of its touch upon the pauldron of his armour. Indomitable though his faith was, the High Marshal knew well enough not to trust such a vision blindly, and so aboard his flagship, the Glorina-class battleship Eternal Crusader. That's like one of the biggest ships that the Imperium has. He convened a gathering of his most trusted sword brothers. The debate lasted for many hours, some of Helbrecht's brethren claiming the apparition to be a message from the God Emperor, others consoling caution and surmising that chaos-tainted witchery may be responsible. In the end, the High Marshal resolved to trust his faith. He had felt no deception or sensed the revealed stench of witchcraft. If a vision had been the Emperor, if a vision had been Emperor sent, ignoring such a call would be nothing short of heresy. At his command, the Eternal Crusader's engines flared to life once more, and its complement of warriors girded themselves for a new crusade. Yeah, wait, I thought when he did all of that, I thought it was apparently Gulliman that told him to like change course or change action or something. Imagine if a war, I swear there's like a scene between him and Gulliman is like, hey, can you stop chasing Gaskell to focus on some of the issues around here? And he's like, sure. Emerging from a war-scarred Armageddon system, the battleship was greeted by a blistering barrage of Fox transmissions and Auspex readings. Communications with other Imperial forces soon revealed that Black Templars were not alone in reinforcing the embattled world. A sizable force from the Space Wolves was also present, their battle barge, All Father's Honor, hunting in orbit over Armageddon Prime. The contrails and engine flare of the Space Wolves dropships were visible as they headed towards the surface. Appraising the situation, Helbrecht set his sights upon the beleaguered hives of Armageddon Secundus. He could coordinate with the Space Wolves and other local Imperial defenders later. Now was the time for action. Ooh. Oh, look at that. That's a Chaos battery. You can tell the Dragonifid looking stuff. What are those? Are those grots? Impids? I'm guessing they're grots. War without end. The Armageddon system. Yay! Okay, so as far as we're aware, currently, if I'm remembering correctly, St. Joan's Dock vanished from along with a battle station and a moon from Armageddon space. Or was it in Nadai? Or was it both of them? Either way, one or two other planets along with a massive space station was teleported out to the Armageddon system by accident by the orcs. Armageddon. Oh. Big old gemstone. Ooh, I like Gramal. So Precalador's terraformed pre-imperial subterranean jungle currently uninhabitable. Ice planet with a rogue orbit is chosen. St. Joan's Dock is an Imperial Navy facility. Armageddons. Here we go. The hive world of Armageddon is the principal world of the Armageddon sector. It is positioned at the nexus of the sector's primary warp transit routes, and once supplied arms of the Astra Militarum regiments and Nefis Imperialis fleets, thousands of light years distance. Oh, distant. Armageddon's production capacity has been much reduced by continual warfare and Gasco's invasions. Warp storms and unfolding conflicts elsewhere in Segmentum Solar have significantly eroded its military strength, and yet humanity refuses to relinquish its tenuous grip upon the Hive World, for to do so would be a dagger in the heart of the Imperial morale in the Armageddon subsector and beyond. Ooh, warp storms. Warp storm Jotun. Golgotha warp passage. Okay. That's what's going on. So this was before Gasco re-invaded. The equatorial jungle we now know is on fire. Armageddon Secundus is one where Hades is. And then you've got Armageddon Prime. If we remember correctly, the race between Yarick and Gutsmek, where they raced to Deathmire, was from Tempestara to Deathmire here. Yeah. But most of it, you got R-Mines, Red Angel's Gate. Hello, Sir Honey Rose, how you doing? Water plant. What? Another water plant down here. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. So, Armageddon. Armageddon, one of the most crucial words of the Segmentum worlds in Segmentum Solar, has been blighted by pollution. So Segmentum Solar is the same Segmentum that the, is part of Terra, where Earth is, which is one of the reasons why Armageddon's so important. You're amazing! Oh my goodness. I'm glad you're amazing. And you better be amazing, otherwise I'm gonna have to make you amazing. Has been blighted by pollution, riven by orc invasions, and plagued by continual bloody warfare. Yet despite the reduction of its once prodigious production capacity, Armageddon remains a linchpin system at the centre of several warp routes. Its loss would be a devastating blow to the Emperor's creaking realm. Armageddon's heavily scarred and polluted surface is divided into three primary landmasses. Most of the planet's population dwells on a single continent, confined within a series of teeming hives that protect the planet's sweltering and protects from the planet's sweltering and polluted atmosphere. Hello! I keep getting an issue where every so often I see like on a message like a little Japanese ka. Is it a ka? I think it's a ka. And the letter A. So it's like Google Translate to something. I think that's one of the reasons why sometimes if I hover over the message, it changes it. Like, what did you type, Sir Honey Rose? Did you type Talan 17 hi? and then mistype it into HO, and did Google try to correct it? I know what I've not done. Oops. That's fine. I've not done my pinned message. I need to understand this. Yeah, this is really weird. Like, if you look over there, it says Talan 17.2 under Sir Honey Rose's message. I wonder if Google's decided to start just auto-translating people's live chats. However, when people make typos, it just messes it up. Because there's nothing to translate. Oh, that'll be annoying if that's true. Like, why? I don't see anything to turn that off. Can I find it in the settings? No. Huh. Yeah, that's confusing. I don't see anything there. I'll just wait to see if more messages have that symbol in, because I saw it yesterday. I just thought people were typing out a symbol. I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to roll with it. But no, it just turns out. I wonder if anyone else can see that symbol in for messages. Is it just me? Okay. Here we go. The successive invasions of Warlord Gaskell Thacker have seen several of the world's highs reduced to ruin or overrun and temporarily occupied by rampaging orcs, the majority of whom now lurk in the planet's thick and sweltering equatorial jungle. Whilst evidence for orcs' invasions is abundant, the lingering traces of the First War of Armageddon are far less noticeable. Right, hey Beaver. This conflict saw Angron invade the planet at the head of a large Khanate army. Millions were slain before the combined efforts of Logan Grimnar and the Grey Knights resulted in Angron being struck down and banished. Though centuries have passed since, the Demon Primarch's first onslaught remind us of war remain. The most prominent is an obsidian monolith located deep within the equatorial jungle, though it appears on no official map. Rumours abound of honorary patrols encountering the cursed monument only to fall victim to murderous insanity. The Imperial authorities routinely seek to suppress the spread of such rumours. Imperial authorities routinely seek to suppress the spread of such rumours only serves to fuel for further superstition. The northern continent of Armageddon is known as the Fire Wastes. The high temperatures here make most of the landmass uninhabitable. For humans, with only the coastal regions capable of supporting labourers unprotected by envirosuits. At the heart of the Fire Waste is the Red Angel's Gate. This seething warp anomaly lies at the convergence of several empiric ley lines. Hardline cracks in the substance of a reality that run through Armageddon's crust and have been widened at the opening of a Great Rift. Hi Sonny Rose, you're heading out to Rhode Island trip in 15 minutes, so you came to say hi. Oh, thanks for popping in. I hope you have a good time on your trip to... Oh, on a not Rhode Island trip. I just added Ireland there. On a road trip. I hope you enjoy your road trip. Yeah. Hello, Ceridwen. Oh, so hi, that guy over there. What's going on with my favourite filling of a setting? We don't know yet. Angron doesn't exist. There's no such thing as demon Primarchs. There's no Primarch called Angron. There's no such thing as demons. You might be thinking of Warp Xenosk. Why did you turn me into a cat? Why so mean? Encountering the Cursed Monument. But it appears on no official maps. Room. No, we missed that one. Empirical eye lines, hairline cracks of a substance of reality that run through Armageddon's crust and have been widened by the opening of a great rift. Roaming bands of demons spill from the Red Angel's Gate, and dozens of regiments stationed in this region have fallen into the embrace of Kharn. The relatively meagre Imperial forces stationed at the continent's fringes were all but destroyed in the aftermath of its opening, leaving only scattered bands of survivors to fall prey to the roving demon packs. Ooh. Oh, there's the Red Angel's Gate. Over here in the fire waste, there's some ore mines. Orc mines! Here you go. Isn't there literally warp Xenos? I think demons are generally referred to as warp Xenos, but I think there might also be, you know, other Xenos that potentially... No, I don't think there's any Xenos that live in the warp. I think it's literally just all demons. Sorry, I had to mute for a second. Arc Warlord Gaskell Thrackers undertakes Gaskell Thrackers invasions. Arc Warlord Gaskell Thracker undertakes consecutive invasions of Armageddon. The first sees the planet brought to the brink of ruin, mainly due to the heretical incompetence of its planetary governor, Overlord Hermann von Strab. It is only thanks to the efforts of the insubordinate Commissar Yavik and the intervention of the Adeptus Astartes that disaster is averted. Armageddon has scarcely had time to recover before Gaskell strikes again at the head of an even larger invasion. That was a 56-year gap, as far as we're aware. AD's hive is obliterated during the fighting, and many of the planet's hives suffer severe damage. He dropped a giant old rock on one of the hives. The successive conflict results in billions of deaths, and while Gaskell eventually abandons the war, the Ark presence is never eliminated from Armageddon's surface. Big old Ark face. Pursuing Gaskell. Whilst fighting continues at Armageddon, Gaskell's absence allows the Imperial military to restore a measure of control. Overrun hives are liberated, and most of the Arks are driven back to the equatorial jungle, or to Hive Tempestus, the only hive remaining in Ark control. Oh yeah, that was it. He didn't race from Hive Tempestus, did he? He must have raced from... Wait, where did he race from? It must have been from Hive Volcanus. Yeah, that's the only one that makes sense. Hive Volcanus. And Tempestara. Wait, no. Hive Tempestara. Hive Tempestus. Where's Hive Tempestus? No, that one must be Hive Tempestus. This is different. Yeah, I'm so confused. It's a hi, Longstocks. Hello. It's so freaking hazy. We're so hazy today. Oh, but here we go. I can hear a fly in my bedroom. I think it's gone. With the situation under relative control, Commissar Yarrick leaves the planet, taking a portion of his military strength with him, and joins High Marshal Helbrecht's Black Templars in the pursuit of the Orc Warlord, the Noctis Aeterna. The opening of a great rift spells disaster for worlds beyond count, and Armageddon is not spared. Warp storms ravage the system, engulfing its worlds in mutating energies and spilling tides of demons into the surface of Armageddon. Oh, we didn't know about that. That wasn't in the other book. The warp storms leave their most lasting mark in the fire wastes, the third northernmost continent of Armageddon. The sudden influx of warp energy that swamps Armageddon ignites lingering traces of empiric corruption buried in the planet's crust. In the heart of the fire waste, a fault line cracks open, spreading forth corrupting energies that mutate the surrounding environs and permanently weaken the veil between reality and the warp in this location. This slowly expanding anomaly will later become known as the Red Angel's Gate. The Blood Crusades. The coming of the Great Rift is a gift to the followers of the Blood God. As Abaddon Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade cuts through the Imperium, World Eaters, Carnate Demons and massive cultists pour out the warp. The Carnate hordes spill from the Cicatrix Maledictum in 8 directions, riding raging warp storms, catching many systems off guard. These Blood Crusades inflict widespread carnage. One Blood Crusade carves a path towards Armageddon, only to break apart as it crashes into the Orc-held territories of Golgotha. Though the Blood Crusade's momentum is broken, its remnants continue to pose a threat across the Armageddon sector, which is in the Segmentum Solar. The fall of Hive Oradis. The influx of demons and warp energies see new conflicts emerge across Armageddon. Battles erupt across the planet, the majority occurring around the fire wastes, ore mines, and prison complexes. In the eastern reaches of Armageddon Secundus, Hive Fedoris is assaulted by a combined force of heretics, chaos space marines, demons, and traitor titans. The defenders of Hive Fedoris hold the line with great bravery, but eventually driven back into the bowels of a beleaguered Hive. Colonel Kirkand of the 473rd Armageddon Steel Legion eventually takes a measure of sabotaging Fedoris' power cores, resulting catastrophic explosion bringing the superstructure down upon the invaders and denying the survivors their prize. Oh, I've been turned into Boss Chibi. It's been ages since then. Hello. I'm crying apparently. Let me stop crying. There we go. I'm in Boss Chibi mode. Oh my goodness. It feels so weird. Hi. The Beacon for Butchery. The death and destruction caused by the siege of Fedoris feeds Red Angel's Gate, causing it to swell. The expanding warp scar acts as an empiric beacon, a pulsing saw of hatred and fury. It's a throwback. It's throwback Thursday. No, it's Saturday today. Whose throbbing sends waves of corrupting forces rippling through the warp. Light years distance from Armageddon, Angron's former flagship Conqueror heeds the call. Its engines abruptly flare to life, and the vessel plunges into a warp without warning. Carnate demons and the ships of the World Eaters warbands and other renegades are dragged along in its wake. So this must have been after Baal, when he went and saved them from the Tyranids. You. Titan's Foresight. The thread of a great rift stretches the resource of the demon-hunting Grey Knights to breaking point. Entire brotherhoods are decimated or cut off from each other by the warp storms, and those that remain cannot hope to counter every demonic threat arrayed against the Imperium. Yeah, this is why there's barely any Grey Knights left. Not only are they struggling to recruit more people since the Great Rift, but yeah, But they're now fighting more wars than ever. Is it me or does the Chibi have darker hair colour? This one, I don't think it does. I think it's the same. Same with the dress. Now, I think this Chibi is... If you're talking about the purple, yes, the purple is darker than... not for boss mode, but from like my mage mode. The Chibi is green and purple. More of a maroony purple, maybe. Wow. Well, that's boss anyway. The boss is, you know, this green and purple. And my normal is yellow and pink. And for some of you, that'll be obvious. But equally, people who are colourblind, it's not so obvious. This model was designed... the original version of Boss Lady was designed by Nico by accident, partly for colouring was because he's colourblind. So this is just so for colouring is just how he saw my you know, original model. Light years distance from Armageddon, Angron's former flagship. Yeah, okay, well, there you go. Within the chapter's fortress monastery in Titan, the prognosticator diviners shift through the warp, their psychic senses searching for the telltale disturbances in the fabric of reality that herald demonic manifestation. The empiric tremors radiating from Armageddon draw their attention, yet this is not all they see. Something is tearing through the sea of souls, leaving a rippling wake like an aquatic super predator. They recognize the fell spore of the eternity at once. Angron comes for Armageddon. A call for aid. With time critical, the prognosticators turn to their pool of resort of recondite arcana, enacting diabolic rituals and incantations inscribed upon wooden relics known as the elusive stella. They project the spirit of one of their number into the warp and make direct contact with Grand Master Rofern Morfans of the Fifth Brotherhood, communicating in spectral form with the Grand Masters. The prognosticators advise them to alter course from the Nakmund Gauntlet and instead guide the Fifth Brotherhood to Armageddon. The prognosticators also dispatch astropathic warnings to others. Visions are seeded into the minds of Marshal Helbrecht and Niall Stormcaller, couch the spiritual revelations to hide the sorcery with which they are crafted. Oh, so the Grey Knights made those visions. Interesting. These undertakings cost the lives of 3 prognosticators, whose minds and souls are burned out by their efforts. Honestly, that's a relatively small cost, compared to half of the messages that we see being sent burning at astropathic temples. And these are probably much more important than astropaths, but still. The amount of times that I've read and it's like, oh, there's a bunch of astropaths here, they're all going to die to send one fleeting message, aren't they? That might not even be useful. Are burned out by their efforts to sustain the ritual of the elusive stella. Nothing remains but wisps of foul-smelling smoke. The ensanguined. Within the hives of Armageddon, a new wave of cult activity arises. Many of the lowest and most desperate inhabitants dedicate themselves to Khorne. Engaging in wanton slaughter, loyalist citizens are purged as the zealot agents of the Adeptus Ministratum seek to root out the rebels, but efforts do little to stop the spreading violence. Yeah. The Ministratum is too ignorant. As the hives struggle to contain the tide of heresy, corruption spreads south from the Red Angel's Gate, lapping at the northern reaches of Armageddon Secundus, near the ruins of High Thorodaris. No fewer than 4 regiments of Armageddon Steel Legion. The Armageddon Steel Legion finally mentioned! Turn their weapons up on their erstwhile allies. Turns out they didn't do very well. As for the Steel Legion just immediately turned traitor. I did look a little darker than I remembered. Oh. Maybe it's because this model is so incredibly bright, like it's lighter skinned, the colour, all the colours are just much brighter and lighter. Oh my gosh, I need to turn my air conditioner again, I'm sorry. It's getting way too warm in here. Cultist mobs emerge from the depths of the shattered hive to join the assault. Within days, the traitors occupy the hive's ruins. The few heretics captured for interrogation speak. Okay. The few heretics captured for interrogation speak of Prophet of a blood god, a leader who calls herself Ascala the Ensanguined. Ooh, that sounds cool. Logan Grimnar's space rules and High Marshal Hellbreach's Black Templars arrive at Armageddon to find a planet driven by war. Grimnar's warriors land in the vicinity of High Vulcanus in Armageddon Prime. They engage teeming masses of mutant abominations for Hive's lower levels. Wolf Scout kill teams venture into the depths. Oh, Wolf Scouts! Kill teams! I thought this book came out before the Wolf Scout Kill Team came out. That's pretty cool, actually. Targeting cult leaders and destroying weapon caches. Though the fighting continues, the intervention of Grimnar's forces buys times of Vulcanus officials to restore order amongst its defense regiments. With Grimnar's space rules already deployed to Armageddon Prime, Hellbreach dispatches his battle brothers to Armageddon Secundus. Hellbreach joins Imperial forces near Hive and Furnace, and makes a concerted effort to push back the heretical armies besieging the Hive. His ultimate objective is to recapture the ruins of Hades and Theodoris and purge them of her rebel occupiers. With the aid of the Krieg, 74th Line Corps, advances are made and new trench lines and fortifications dug. Yeah, now the first mention of the Krieg. Hi Foxy, how are you doing? So maybe the Steel Legion really just didn't survive this war. Let me just modify my air conditioner a little for grates are facing the wrong way. There we go. I'm back. The Eaters of Worlds. Wait, no. On Grandmaster Morphin's fifth Brotherhood arrives in orbit of Armageddon and appraises the grim situation. He and his battle brothers swiftly identify loci of warp energy scattered across the fireways and dispatch interceptor squads to investigate with impunity. The rest of the Preserver's strength is held in reserve as Morphin considers his next move. Oh! That's probably a good idea. The Eaters of Worlds. I doubt this will actually give us the conclusion of what happened in this campaign. We already know the conclusion. The Grey Knights effectively all sacrificed themselves to close the gate. But that's all we really know. They didn't really say much else. The unexpected arrival in the orbit of Conqueror and its attendant fleets produces ripples that reach Armageddon's surface. Whilst the combined might of the Eternal Crusader, All-Father's Honor and remaining Nefis Imperial squadrons ensure Imperial naval superiority, the World Eaters and their allies show little interest in engaging in protracted void combat. Instead, the Chaos Fleet surges into low orbit. Expendable Coronate Void warships are hurled toward the Imperial Fleet, serving as a screening force whose sheer aggression ties up the Imperial Fleet just long enough for the combat drops to be achieved. Ooh, Defenders of Armageddon. So here we go. We can see all of the Defenders of Armageddon here. Seems the space rules are definitely front and forward. I think this came out around the same time as the Space Wolf Codex, so makes sense. Armageddon has long been furnished with formidable garrisons. The following is an overview of the forces involved in repelling the World Eater's invasion forces and defending the northern reaches of Armageddon Prime and Armageddon Secundus, which are by no means considered an exhaustive list of the loyalist forces present of the world. So you got 45 line corps of Death Corps of Krieg, 42 plus regiments of the Armageddon Steel Legion. So there's actually less Armageddon Steel Legions on Armageddon than there are Death Corps of Kriegs, even by the start of this war. Although we do know that 4 of the regiments already turned traitor. 23 Foistran Firstborn. Ooh, 23 Foistrans. 13 Lancers. 19 Void Shots. 24 Talon Desert Raiders. 45 Catachan Jungle Fighters, makes sense. Who the heck's the Red Cowls and why do they have more regiments than everyone else by a long mark? They got 61 the Red Cowls. Who the heck are they? Armageddon Arc Hunters have 14 regiments. Okay, that puts them at 56 for Armageddon Steel Legion, which is still less than these blooming. Who the heck are the Red Cowls? I swear Demon Primarchs are useful as a nuke drop for enemies, unless other than that they certainly aren't leading anything, pretty much. Although Angron does seem to lead better than Fulgrim does. What's his name is definitely acting more like a general, Perturabo. Logar, I don't know what even he's doing. Who's the other one? Matarian, I don't know if he does much actual leading. So for Death Corps line corps provide a bulk of the infantry and artillery. Oh yeah, just because it says regiments doesn't necessarily mean that they provide more people. Like the line corps, because it's like, this could be 61 regiments, but there might only be, you know, 61,000 people there, where these 42 regiments could represent, you know, 250,000, well, 2 or 3 million even. So you can't really tell. One, because regiments are varying different sizes, but also they could be mechanized regiments, it could be armored regiments, it could be infantry regiments. You never know. The Red Cows seem to be a guard regiment that specializes in flamethrower weapons. You know, that works. Especially for fighting around the equatorial jungle. The Death Corps line corps provide a bulk of the infantry and artillery firepower in the Northern Hemisphere. The majority of Catachan, Armageddon Arc Hunters and Red Cow regiments are deployed at the perimeter of the equatorial jungle to contain the Arc threat. That also makes sense. Talon and Steel Legion armoured formations are to be held in reserves pending overseer authorization for deployment. Also makes sense. One of the big things that we do have to remember is that most of Armageddon's military force that it produces itself isn't actually Steel Legion. The Steel Legion is mostly a tank formation and vehicle formation, which is why with Armageddon books coming out we got more vehicles. And why it mentions here specifically that they are armoured. Talon also produces a lot of very good armoured regiments, although they do also do a lot of recon and more stealthy regiments. So here we go. But here we go. Hive Militias and Penal Legions. We got 45 ad hoc brigades of the Infernus defense units. The Turning Scorpions, 77 pickets, 81 regiments. And as you can see, like, most of the groups are here, militia. And they're not necessarily going to be equipped like the Steel Legion are. The Steel Legion have the best equipment. And they're not necessarily going to be providing their own equipment either. because Armageddon's own manufacturing capabilities has been significantly reduced, so they're most likely going to be used excess stock. They're probably going to be using like the basic Cadian type style equipment because that's the most versatile and ubiquitous equipment in the galaxy, and as a sort of the cheapest. The Armageddon Steel Legion is probably going to be armed with the best equipment that they can provide, and the best equipment that they can provide, in their opinion, is going to be that's made on Armageddon. So, these guys, though, they're probably just going to be equipped with a basic Cantrell last gun, basic helmet, a rebreather if necessary. They're going to be fighting mostly inside and around the cities, so they don't need to care too much about having rebreathers. Armageddon Steel Legion and the Armageddon Arc Hunters will fight outside in more dangerous zones. Although the Arc Hunters themselves are in the equatorial jungle, which means it's generally safer from the environment there. Logar is sitting in his tower gathering his magic as his catastrophic curb stomp he was handed. Yep. So yeah. But as you can see, the militia doesn't just represent infantry. You've got artillery here, you've got armoured corps, you've got the penal legion and indentured, or both penal legions, defence militia, volunteer, battalions of exiles. So yeah, Grey Knights, redacted. That's hilarious. Additional Astartes forces. It must be noted that, following the order of battle, far from exhaustive, a list of Adeptus Astartes assets present on Armageddon at the outbreak of fighting. Scattered reports claim the presence of elements from other chapters. The veracity of these reports have been impossible to verify. The following records are based only upon verifiable eyewitness accounts. All unreliable data has been expunged from the record. So Strikeforce Raptors, Sons of the Phoenix, Hammers of Dawn, Mortifactors, Salamanders and Seaver Skulls. This is basically just to say that, hey, if you want to play on Armageddon and you play Ultramarines, you can play on the Crusade. It's a bit like what they're doing with the current new Armageddon stuff. Anyone can be on Armageddon. There's no limitation of who is at Armageddon. Official reports do not represent everything. Hey, Flash! Also, one of the big things that they do mention quite a few times as well, but they don't really linger on too much, is how the war for Armageddon isn't just one planet. It's multiple planets in the system. It's multiple... There's an entire sector called Armageddon, and that's got many, many systems, all of which have their own planets, all of which are being attacked by orcs or chaos, and you could be fighting a battle on any of those planets. It doesn't have to be on Armageddon itself, which I think is a fun thing. I like how they always include that in the lore. They don't focus too much upon it, but you know. Okay, we've got Titan legions here. Warlord Titan, Warlord Titan, Warlord Titan, Warbringer Titan, Warhound Titan. Oh, can we see if we can find anything here that we recognise? I don't think we recognise any of these. Because we know that there are a couple of Warhound Titans at the very least in the new Armageddon campaign. How are you doing, Flash, by the way? We're looking at all the different forces that are on Armageddon. So we've got the Martian cohorts, Majors Dominus, Formida, Martian Expeditionary Force, Macroclade. Note that in addition to those listed in this order of battle, further Martian assets are reported to have been present in support of and advisory capacities, overseen by Lectio, Gregor, Hyfox, Martian Tech Beasts, and so on and so on. What I'm surprised here is that we don't have any Cadians, yet Cadians ended up forming the majority, a significant portion of the forces in the new Armageddon book. This doesn't necessarily mean that the Cadians weren't fair, it's just a much smaller group. I don't recognise the Lancers, the Void Sharks, or the Red Cowls, but I imagine all of them have been mentioned before in other things. So what does the fleet look like? Squadron under Rear Admiral Roth, battleship carrier, void ships, frigate, corvette, destroyers. Oh, additional elements. Rogue Trader Kyprin, Telenosia, and 3 companies of Voidsmen at Arms, Kin mercenary bands, Adeptus Arbite extraction squads. That's fun. Black Templars, Hellbrecher's Crusade has High Marshal, a Castellan, 2 Chaplains, an Apothecary, 56 Sword Brothers, 123 Battle Brothers, 84 Squires or Neophytes, and 53 supporting armoured vehicles. Honestly, that's a pretty small force. And that's an extremely small force. He must have really only gone with his one ship. I'm pretty sure that's a smaller army than was mentioned in the Eye of Terror, when there was just a single, a small crusade was caught up with the Imperial Fists when they went to the Eye of Terror. Well, not to the Eye of Terror, to Agrippina. They got the Eternal Crusader, 7 Gladius frigates, and 15 Hunter-class destroyers. That's an incredibly small army for him to take. Now, he could be lying about this. This could not be truthful at all. Black Templars do often lie about how much assets they actually have. And they've taken to a place. But yeah, he's not taken a single marshal, apparently. That's pathetic. Okay, what about the Great Company? Honestly, Logar sitting in his tower might be the most helpful he's ever been. True. Logar does not do well if he's just not sitting in a tower. I don't like Logar, I must say. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Logar, but I have been seeing more lore about the Word Bearers and the Logar himself, and honestly, he's kind of he's the least Primarchy of all of the Primarchs, and I'd say in many regards he's like the most human amongst them in a lot of ways. Like the Word Bearers, not all Word Bearers, but a lot of the Word Bearers and Logar himself, they're not the mustache twirling, you know, cartoonishly evil that you see in a lot of the Chaos Space Marines. Like Angron and all the World Eaters, they're cartoonishly evil. Abaddon, despite everything, he's basically a cartoon villain. He's a little more than Skeletor in a lot of ways. I mean, he's a better general than Skeletor. But still. Well, then you got Logar for Word Bearers, and they're like, we actually believe in what we're doing. We believe we're helping humanity. Are we absolutely deluded? Yes, we are, but we do believe we're helping humanity. And Abaddon himself also believes that to some extent, but you don't really get that same sense of conviction with him that he thinks what he's doing is actually for the best. Instead, you always feel that, like, he's just out for vengeance and anger, and because he doesn't know what else to do. 21 Battle Brothers of Logan Grimnor's Wolfguard, 83 Battle Brothers, 14 supporting armoured vehicles, 15 Battle Brothers, and 2 armoured vehicles, 4 Battle Brothers. I always wonder if I don't think about who needs to be inside the vehicles. I guess they must do to some extent. But like 53 armoured vehicles. Like if you wanted to deploy them all at the same time, you'd need basically an entire army to just be manning vehicles. Like, do we not include the people who are meant to be manning the vehicles in these lists? 15 Battle Brothers, 2 supporting armored vehicles, 10 Battle Brothers, 3 Gladius frigates, the Battle Barge, 2 Nova class frigates, 4 Hunter Destroyers. I expect Logar's belief he's just bad at doing anything other than meditating, it seems. I would expect more. Yeah, no, I think... No, the main thing he's good at riling up a population. He's good at getting other people to believe what he believes. He's charismatic. That's his main and really only good point to him. He's a bit dumb. He's a bit deluded. He's relatively easily tricked. He's not a great fighter. He's not a great commander. He's basically just charismatic. That's all he's got going for him. Which honestly is pretty true of a lot of them, you know. Some of the most evil people out there. If they weren't great people, all they were is charismatic. Often they were being used and manipulated quite a lot. And often when they did make decisions, they just messed things up. Logar's always felt like the weakest willed of the Primarchs, yeah. And I think at the same time, though, it kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say most human, not all relatable. What's the word for it? Sympathetic. I think to some extent, he's one of the most sympathetic Primarchs in, not necessarily like his life is sympathetic, like bad things happen to him and he feels sympathy for him. It's more sympathetic in the fact that he, well, feels human to some extent. It's not like Gulliman where he can sympathise with his plight and his problems. But when it comes to him as an actual person, he seems kind of like cold. And when he does show emotion, it seems more like he seems cold and like barely held back anger. And that feels like a lot of a Primarch to some extent. Then you got Sanguinius, who is, you know, not human in many regards. Like he's always envisioned as like this step above everybody else, even if he's trying not to be. When he's trying not to be, he just takes another step up, be above everyone else. And then you got Perturabo and Angron, who they don't even have the barely contained rage. They just, it's not contained at all. They're just very angry people. Which again, it's possible to sympathise with them, but then you got Logar, who's a bit of a dum-dum. But he just seems like if he just made a normal person just a bit bigger, a bit stronger, maybe a bit dumber. And I think that's I mean, I don't really like him per se. And until I read about him a bit more, I was like, yeah. But it's, oh. He's a silly Billy, though. He's definitely one of those ones where he just keeps creating his own problems. Which I guess is relatable. With Logar, it's like he needs to have someone more powerful tell him what to do at all times. Yeah. He lacks like his own guiding will. I think that's a good way to say it. Like everyone else, they know what they want to do. Like even those that have fell to the Dark Gods, they fell in part because of what they want to do. Falling to the Chaos Gods just helps them do what they want to do. Logar, though, he's just lacks direction. Which is hilarious because, like, ultimately his weakness is he lacks conviction. Yet he's, you know, the religious one, which, you know, you'd think he would have the most conviction. But I think that's partly why he grasped on to the ideas of religion and the Chaos Gods and stuff. because that gave him conviction. It was like a conviction he could like have for himself. I don't know. I mean, I've not read a lot of the stuff with him. I've not read any of the full book. It's more of just like where he's been on the periphery of stuff I have read about. Oh. But here we go. What we're on to now. Any attempts to capture the exact disposition of the Chaos Primarch's invading force is doomed to failure. The information presented here is merely a collection of partially verified data scripts drawn from eyewitness accounts, intercepted communications, and interrogations of captured traitors. For cult masses, the following combat units are believed to have deployed via dropship alongside the World Eater's forces. Bunch of Jackals and Garmonger cultists, off-road militarum traitors, 6 to 7 regiments, mutant spawn packs, abominations, and corrupted servitors. There's an incalculable amount of Garmongers and Jackals. Indigenous renegades. The Carnate invasion was preceded by internecine strife and rebellion. The following traitor elements were present and active on Armageddon prior to the arrival of the World Eater's fleet. They have been grouped by approximate location. Elements of several hive militias and Astra Militarum formations are known to have turned their backs upon the Emperor's benevolence. Note that these forces have likely been depleted, combined, or otherwise altered in their command structures and deployment. All members of the following units listed below have been declared extramunicatum traitoris and are to be executed on sight. Disorganized cult rebels prevalent, large numbers of Jackals and Garmonger cult extremists present, estimated 1 million total, 34th Armageddon Infantry Regiment, 2 battalions, 8 companies, 198th Armageddon Armoured Regiment, 56th Okaros Ironbloods Combined Armor Regiments, the 40th Desecrators, origin unknown, presumed deserted survivors of the Ark invasion. Further ad hoc formations likely, at least 4 heavy artillery batteries. This is one of the things I do think sometimes, like, 40k is a bit weird with their numbers sometimes. They often go for either just absurdly high or way too small. I mean, 1 million... plus an incalculable amount. Now, they generally do try making up for it by just adding incalculable amounts here. Like, at the moment, when it comes to, like, non-Space Marine units, there's not a lot there. There's basically maybe 1.2 million at the very most, and probably a lot less, until you take into incalculable there. The following estimates of combat strength have been evaluated to a confidence interval of 58%. Note that combat strength of World Eater warbands deploying to Armageddon varies. Small numbers of armoured transports, battle tanks, and unidentified combat vehicles and demon engines are also present amongst the forces. 1 macro capital designated vessel, structural analysis engines, Gloria class. Okay. That's the same size, roughly, as the Black Templar ship. 12 capital designation vessels. 20 escorts, 15 picket ships, blah blah blah. So there's Angron, rumoured. Bloodstalkers, Sulphur Swan, Brazen Butchers, Crimson Desecrators, reports of mass teleportation assaults at Northern Archaeologies. Iron Spires, Science of Carnage, Piscatari, and 13 additional warbands. So a warband ranges from anything to a squad to a chapter size. We can basically suggest that a warband is about company size, especially if it's named. So we're looking at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 2,000 Space Marines. And considering that there's like... What was that? 100 and about 30 plus another 250. There's only like 380 loyalist Space Marines discounting Grey Knights forces who are redacted. With Logar, if... Oh wait, Logar's a submissive leader. Pretty much. With Logar, it feels like he needs someone more powerful to tell him what to do. Logar's a submissive leader. I need to move this screen so I can see that chat easier. There we go. Renegade Astartes, 4 capital vessels, 2 escort vessels, 20 dropships. Bloodbreast, Unalive Hound, Children of the Crimson Lords. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more Chaos Space Marines than Imperial Space Marines here. Redacted, which is probably demons. I'm probably making up a large portion of the invaders here to make up for the lack of numbers everywhere else. 4 to 6 unknown titans. Carnivore. A Bulklander. Bunch of Hellforge stuff. Negathought cultists, assorted demon engines, multiple heretic engines, Archmagos, Roark. I think I've read about him. Negathought cultists are similar to the Cult Mechanicum, weird electric boogaloo dudes. Ooh, Hive Hades. Occupied by heretical elements, primary commanders. Insanguined, oh yeah. Cult of the Crimson Emperor, Sons of Blood, so various other cults, 111 artillery pieces, 4 penal legions who are deserters, a tank legion, 19 mobile anti-air assets, and cult mutants, unnumbered and suspected very high. Okay, so it seems that, you know, as always, the Imperium is outnumbered. Because a base just landed here. Okay, so let's look. He doesn't survive, it's so sad. Pat, pat, pat. Wolfen Morthon's Grand Master of the Fifth, the foresight of the prognostitators, had forewarned Grand Master Morthons with knowledge of Angron's approach. Still, it was only after arriving at Armageddon that he understood the scale of the Red Angel's Gate. The cult augurs of the Grey Knight's vessels detected great torrents of empiric energy spiraling from the fireways. Upon teleporting onto Armageddon's surface, the Grey Knights found the fireways mutated by Skull-faced volcanic mountains vomited forth rivers of molten brass and bubbling gore. Forts of black and iron loomed out of the cratered lands, where spiked ramparts laden with impaled remains of human victims. As a Grand Master of the Grey Knights, Wolfen Mons knew more of Armageddon's past than anyone in the system. He knew, for instance, of Angron's first invasion of empiric faults left in the wake of the Demon Primarch's banishing. He knew, too, that the key to close the Red Angel's Gate lay somewhere in Armageddon's tainted crust. He resolved to find it. Styrbjorn Flintai, Grimnor's Chosen, a trusted veteran of Logan Grimnor's Wolfguard, Styrbjorn Flintai has served as a battle leader in dozens of conflicts. Most recently, the campaigns against the Orcs of Golgotha, when the champions of Fenris arrived upon Armageddon. Grimgar found the defense of High Volcanus and Armageddon Prime as a whole in disarray. First, Grimnar took command of Imperial forces. Styrbjorn and a detachment of Battle Brothers were dispatched with orders to reach Armageddon Secundus. There they would link up with Hellbratch's Black Templars, aiding their fellow Space Marines in a combined assault upon the heretic strongholds in the ruins of Hades and Theodoris. no Thoradis. While Striborn's reputation is that of a savage warrior, he possesses a code of honour as strict and unwavering as the Great Wolves. Whilst corruption runs rampant across Armageddon, Striborn believes that Armageddon and its populace can be saved. This belief has proven a bone of contention with the Black Templars, at whose side he was sent to fight. Castellan-Holzer, Helbrecht's left fist. Castellan-Holzer despises traitors with the same vehemence as he does for Alien and the Witch. His orders from Helbrecht are to rally the Imperial defenders of Armageddon Secundus and lead offensives on the traitor-held positions of Adoris and Hades. He knows, however, that before any such offensive can be successful, the front lines must be stabilised. Thus, Holzer and his Crusade squads have established a new defensive position, the Imperator line, between the heretic stronghold of Ardis and the still vulnerable Infernus and Acheron. If a massed heretic assault comes, it will break against this newly formed Imperator line. Or Imperator is what they called the new Crusade for Armageddon, to save it from the latest Ark attack. Ooh. And meet the formidable combined firepower of the Black Templars, the Astra Militarum regiments. When the traitors are being put to flight, Holzer intends to strike swiftly, pursuing the foe back to the hole from whence they crawled. Then his warriors will purify Hades and Theodoris. I have tried and tested the third method, the prodigious application of holy fire. Angron, Demon Primarch of the World Eaters. I like how, you know, the two people here are just randos, effectively, rather than Helbrecht and Grimnar. Okay, so Angron, Demon Primarch of the World Eaters. Look, that's not a very flattering photo of him, if I'm entirely honest. The opening of a the opening of a great rift empowered many warp-spawned beings, but few more than Angron. His bloody forays into reality saw billions slain, consumed as he was by his rampages. The tearing open of a Red Angel's gate barely registered in what was left of a Demon Primarch's mind. Yet as uprisings rippled through the planet's hives and cultists erected gore-encrusted idols, chanted prayers and undertook ritual sacrifice, the gate's pulsing energies grew. Registering even above the pounding of a butcher's nails, they acted as a beacon of the swirling madness of a warp, drawing the Demon Primarch ever closer. Okay, maybe he's not much of a leader anymore. He really is just and Fulgrim's not any better than that, really. The arrival of the Space Wolves and Black Templars upon the planet and the bloodshed that followed drew the Red Angel inexorably towards Armageddon. Gruesome portents would herald Angron's arrival. The waters of the Hemlock River turned blood red, and the crimson rain fell in torrents to drown soldiers in their foxholes. The Red Angel's gate quivered and pulsed as the Demon Primarch's manifestation loomed. Garrock Squell, disciple of the Red Angel. Garrock Squell was present on the bridge of the Conqueror when the void ship's demonic machine spirit growled to life, igniting its engines without warning and plunging into the warp. Skreel and his exalted 8-pounds stood watch over the Conqueror's bridge, slaughtering any world eaters who sought to alter a vessel's course. Each of them hosted within their hulking bodies demons of Thorn, and their possessors also had felt the call of a Red Angel's gate. Ooh. The Conqueror and its accompanying fleet emerged in Armageddon's system and bludgeoned into orbit above the primary world. Thankfully, the world eaters are dealing with one another. In orbit above the primary world. The heaving fleshy masses of what were once crew servitors throbbed and twitched amidst webs of cables and glistening gristle. Hollow displays of Hive-World Armageddon flashed across filth-encrusted vid screens. Skreel felt the restless fury of his possessors as his mind raced, selecting drop sites and objectives for his warriors to seize. Angron was coming. He would earn the Demon Primarch's favour by spilling blood beyond measure. Hello, Officer Buckdussel. Hello. I don't know why YouTube keeps trying to translate messages. Like, does anyone else read Officer Buckdussel's message as it if they don't hover over it? Oh gosh. Guess what came to me for the day? Gosh, YouTube sucks. Yeah, YouTube is sucking right now. It's just translating messages that don't need translating. I don't know how to turn it off and it's super annoying. It was probably doing that yesterday and I was misreading messages because I didn't realise at first. I don't see anywhere in my settings to stop it. Let me open up. Is it like another setting somewhere here? Your videos. What about settings here? Channel. Advanced settings. Nope. Upload default. Add categories. Missions, community moderation. Oh, I just found out I can do channel guidelines. That's how I do it. Yeah, there's nothing for me to change here. Ah, it's so annoying. Does YouTube view hello as a foreign word? It does. It keeps translating it to it and I can't stop it. I've seen a few streamers commenting on it. Generally, they seem to find it annoying. It is annoying. I'm looking at this. I'm going to write a review right now. I've got to send, I can click here, send feedback. Please stop trying to auto-translate messages. It just makes a mess of everything. There you go. I've reported an issue. It does. What language? I don't think any language. It's just YouTube. They've gone so AI focused. I've got to... Oh, I need to move away from Google. I want to get a Linux so I can move away from blooming Windows. I'm scared of just changing to Linux over because, you know, software issues. And it will just take forever. I need to move my phone over because of all the Google stuff that's happening soon. Need to find a new streaming platform. That's not blooming YouTube, because YouTube sucks right now. I don't want to use Kick. Kick is terrible. Twitch is owned by blooming Amazon of all things. That site is really friendly and comes with a lot of streamer stuff already installed. That site, is that a Linux thing? Oh gosh. There you go. So Ascara for Insangrind. Oh, Ascara for Insangrind is here. Cult Firebrand. Yeah. Yes. You can base it off either Apple OS or the Windows OS. Look, that's cool. Banana, no! It was a Hyphens Falca dog. There we go. Of all the heretic leaders, of that being said, when they did the entire, changing people's names over, I complained then and they still didn't do anything about it. So, where you don't see for your nickname, instead you just see your @ instead. Hi, Sea Cruise. Angron lost because he was too angry to think proper against the lion. Yeet. Although this isn't the lion here. Apparently hello with the hate is a Spanish word that translates to it. Okay. Of all the heretic leaders and rebel demagogues I've risen. When I first saw it, I literally just thought people just randomly typing. I thought it was like some new trend I hadn't gotten. I hadn't seen, and people just randomly typing, Japanese symbols or something before the speech. Of all the heretic leaders and rebel demagogues have risen with the boughs of Armageddon's hives, none have amassed a following approaching that of Ascarda Sangrind. She has been serving amongst the Armageddon Ark Hunters. She had been serving amongst the Armageddon Ark Hunters when she stumbled across Angron's monolith, a stone-wrought legacy of a demon Primarch's first bloody invasion. She had been a pitiless killer even before the encounter. Whatever experiences she endured in the shadows of that cursed place, it only served to stoke her unaliving lust. Ascara's goals are far loftier than mere wanton butchery. She claims to be a prophet of a Red Angel, has communed with warp entities and journeyed north to bathe in the malefic radiance of the fire wastes. Many bloody cultists have flocked to her banner. From her base in the ruins of High Fedoris, she has directed followers across Armageddon's continent to construct monolithic icons to Angron. These, she claims, will draw the Red Angel into Armageddon. Then she promises the bloodshed will be glorious indeed. So here we go. Hive Tempestora, Deathmire, the Oritium Line, Equatorial Jungle, Volcanus Mountains, High Volcanus. So it must have been Volcanus it came from. So the Mannheim Gap. Yeah, the Mannheim Gap is there. So that means wait, how did we get to Deathmire? Because I think he went from High Volcanus through the Mannheim Gap, around this way. Then either he went all the way down here, blocked the river, and then to Deathmire from this direction. Or he went this direction, and all the way to Deathmire there. He must have gone this direction. I think what happened, if I remember correctly, he must have gone this direction, crossed the river there, and he went wide around the mountains before coming back round. No, he must have gone this way. No, he definitely went this way. Because... no, but they said he went round the edges of the mountains rather than through the mountain. Rather than going around the mountains close to them. He went away from the mountains. And then he ended up getting to like a gap that was here. There was a... maybe it wasn't here. He blocked off one of the rivers. We know that, if I remember correctly, I'm trying to think, sorry, of how did Yarick go from High Volcanus to Deathmire? Because we know he raced there against Wastaka. And Wastaka, I think, went east, so he must have just gone directly through here to Deathmire, while Yarick must have gone for long way round. Potentially. I kind of just want to get back my, I kind of want to get out for other Armageddon book, figure out which direction he went. Wait, okay, I've got to figure out. Now we've got proper maps of Armageddon. Let's look. What direction did Yarick actually go? On his race from Deathmire. So Imperial Convoy was halfway to Deathmire. The Haluska line, that wouldn't be here because these are new lines that were set up separately. Well, the Sainted Gate open up. I read loud and clear for Fox Spirit to Strident. Marden's was sent backwards. From the Volcanus Bridge. Volcanus Bridge. So I'm guessing he must have gone that way and around to Deathmire. But where did his mountains go then? Where's the pass that they had to go through? So went across the Volcanus Bridge. That means it probably went this way. Yeah, it said it went away from the mountain, so he definitely didn't go. He must have definitely gone this way around and curved back in. I'm assuming. This is assuming that they actually looked at these maps and the maps between the books are accurate. The Heliskoy line, so long abandoned Heliskoy line. Yeah, there's no Heliskoy line here. Anything else? No. Okay, what direction did it say that he went? Rastacker used his speed, right? He cut across the Ash race, intending to join. Back to the feet of the Hecate Mountains. Can we see the Hecate Mountains? That's an important thing. Okay, it doesn't mention the Hecate Mountains here, just the Vulcanus Mountains. So we know that he raced from the Hecate Mountains. He wanted to loop east to overtake the Imperial convoy. He cut across the Ash Wastes. So looping east, he wanted to go across the Ash Wastes as well. So that must have been again over here. You know, it's there's not enough information on this map. Actually, can we? Is there a map inside this book as well? Okay, there actually is a map as well. And the entire Equatorial jungle is on fire, we know that much. Initial landing of Rastacker landed here. So they raced all the way across the mountains to get to them. Doesn't show where the Hecate Mountains is here. I wonder if they have more detailed maps in like the Games Workshop HQ. I'm guessing these must be the Hecate Mountains that they had to drive past and around. Or it's the mountains just north of Deathmire, but I doubt it's that one. The issue with how the rivers also go across here is that you'd expect more bridges and stuff. Pardon me, sorry. Where did my knife go? Where did my knife go? Oh, I dropped it. It's on the floor. My pointer. My pointy pointer. Okay, so after Logan Grimnor's Thunderhawk gunship alighted off a landing pads of high Vulcanus, the Great Wolf emerged to find the highest defenders stretched thin. Having spent long years preparing to fight an all-out war against the external threat of Orc invasion, the defenders were ill-equipped for an internecine battle against the cult insurgents. Assassination and attrition had eroded the hives. Experienced military units and commanders, and then, you know, graves appeared and made it even worse, leaving only an experienced militia as a defense. Grimnar took command of a hive, merging decimated units and dispatching his packs to crush resistance within Hive Vulcanus and secure the tactically significant plains of Anfand. Control of the expanse of the Ash Waste located to the south of Hive Vulcanus would be crucial to prevent the aggressors, be they Orc or Heretic, from seizing key passes through the Vulcanus Mountains and outflanking the Hive's defenders. The arrival of the World Eaters opened a third front. Waves of Garthmonger and Jackal cultists, driven forwards by Berserkers, landed across the northern reaches of Armageddon Prime. These landings forced the Great Wolf to withdraw several regiments of the plains of Anfand in preparation for an expected assault of the Hive's eastern perimeter. Stretched thinly, the defenders of Hive Vulcanus would soon find their lines bowing before the World Eater's relentless onslaught. What about the Orcs? So there's a big Orc horde up here. Obviously lots of Orcs in the Equatorial jungle. And Hive Pastora, also owned by Orcs. Oh, there's a bunch of gun batteries on these islands. It could be actually that the bridge Volcanus actually goes this way, and this is the highway that they followed, and eventually it goes down here and down into Deathmire. That would make sense actually, if a bridge is that direction and it goes round, explaining why Wastacker would try to go this way. But traitor positions, traitor attack vectors, Imperial fortifications, Orc territory. Lots and lots of traitor movements everywhere. The traitors really operated quite close to the Orcs, didn't they? Mortifiers, Silver Skulls, Space Wolves, Astronatorms, so these are all Space Marines. Carnate Cultists, World Eaters, Traitor Titans. Oh, Traitor Titans. Traitor Titans. Cultists. World Eater, Cultists. Okay. A boiling sea. Armageddon Secundus. Larger and far more populous than the primary continent, Armageddon Secundus has long been the planet's administrative and industrial heart. All of its hives suffered extensive damage during the Orc invasions, with Hades' hive completely obliterated the opening exchanges of Gaskull's second invasion, and Hive Tartarus' population reduced by 75% in the fighting. By the time Hellbrecher's Black Templars made landfall to the north and west, Hive Infernus, heretic forces had begun to reverse significant gains made by the Armageddon Steel Legion regiments. Ooh. Here's... Ooh, Loyalist Titans! Amazon Raptors! Salamanders! Sons of the Phoenix! Incarnate Forces. And this is the world. Oh. The Imperial Forces definitely seem to be a lot more prevalent and powerful here. Hades Hive. In the wake of Theodoris' destruction, these heretical cults reoccupied the ruins of Theodoris and Hades and swayed many Astronatorm units to their cause. With the heretics possessing heavy armor, artillery, and even aerial assets, any attempt to advance across the Ash race was met with ferocious combined arms counter-assaults. The arrival of a World Eater's fleet, brought to Hellbrecher's attention by the bridge crew of the Eternal Crusader, saw clawed heretic drop pods fall like rain over Hive Hades. The High Marshal was forced to divide his crusaders. Ooh, hello, Briar Raid! Oh, hello, Briar and everybody! How you doing? Goober Raid, Briar! Ow, 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 ow! How you doing, Briar? Go and check out Briar, she's amazing! For those who don't know me, I'm Cupcake Conjurer in both name and profession. Big love hearts to you all. I conjure cupcakes. Yeah, like all of those guys down there. We're currently reading a bookie book. This book. Oh, Armageddon. Warhammer. How was your stream though? Hi, Tony's Final. Hello. Isis. Wait. I seeks art. Yeg. Welcome to the streams. I hope y'all having a good time. I hope you had a good streams. What were you doing? Also, make sure that you take care of yourselves. You hydrate, you eat food, all of that good stuff. Make sure you have some good rest, because I know for some of it's going to be quite late. I just picked up Space Marine 2 last week and I've been really enjoying it. Yay! I'm glad you're liking it. That's just a bunch of updates too. It was good. Played Jackbox. Ooh, and Left 4 Dead with viewers and members. Oh! That sounds nice. Yeah, we did some community gaming. It's the year of Briar Raid. Hello. Oh. But yeah, we're learning about bad guys, corn worshippers, people who worship for the god of war, and for attacking the innocent Imperials. on a planet called Armageddon that has places like cities named Deathmire, which, you know, can never be bad. Another city is named Hades. You're just gambling again. No! Let me have a quick drink. There we go. There we go. And French Puff is here. Hello, French Puff. Puff word of the day. Thim Kim.
Puff word of the day. Thim Kim. During my time since I last was in stream and there. Incident. I had time to reflect. To ponder. To thin.
I don't know what I found out. I hope you found out some good stuff. Oh, Titan Graveyard. That's like really big walkers. You lost, Briar. I'm sorry. Pat, pat, you lost the game. Pat, pat, Briar. Pat, pat, pat. Oh, gosh. Oh, what we're doing. We're reading Yeet, the arrival of World Eater's fleet brought Hellbrecher's attention. Brought to Hellbrecher's attention by the bridge crew for Eternal Crusader, saw Claude Heretic drop pods fall like rain over Hive Hades. The High Marshal was forced to divide his Crusaders. He took half his warriors. Wait, we can gamble here. Yeah, although it requires sprinkles, and you earn sprinkles by being in the stream every 5 minutes. So if you've not been to the stream before, yeah, you might not be able to do stuff. Yes, Joey, we can gamble. We can gamble, yeah. Oh, Briar, before you go and rest or whatever, have you been getting an issue where YouTube automatically starts translating messages? I noticed it yesterday, but I didn't realise exactly what was going on until today. It's been annoying. Oh gosh. Yes. It has a live translation. You can where can you turn it off? I've been trying to find where I can turn it off. But everything I looked for has no options. Under the same place as live somewhere. Oh. I went into there. There. Okay. Wait. I missed it. Thank you. Now that you confirmed that it's right there. Good. Like the leaderboard one. Yeah. That leaderboard one never makes sense. I leave it there, but... I exalt has 800 sprinkles. Ooh, you got 800 sprinkles. Yeah. But I need to meditate until we meet again. Oh, thanks for popping in. And thanks everyone else who's popped in. I'm broke. You know how you stop being broke. You gamble everything. Hope you get the jackpot. You get over 800 to 8,000. Yeah. Or you can lose it all. No, the max you can do for gamble is 5,000. The minimum, I think, is 5. No, that was a lie. I was joking. Don't do it. Don't do it. You lost it all. You lost it all. No. Paladin Stem won 2,500. Yeah, the max you can do is 5,000. Remember, you're amazing. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget to hydrate, eat, and stay healthy. And don't forget to like the stream. Yay! Yeah, you know, I'm going to now give sprinkles at I see. There you go. I'll give you your sprinkles back. Oops, accidentally added another zero to that. Oops. Hey! Oh, why? Oh, you won. You won this time. Oh, wait. Wait. It's because she did Gamba. Ah, and that failed. Gamba doesn't work. I forget it's slot, not Gamba. Thank you very much. It's fine. You can keep it. Rock pods fall like rain over Hive Hades. The High Marshal was forced to fight his crusade. He took harvest warriors north to seize the Ayamerdis Bridge. Yemendis Bridge, and primarily crossing point over Yemendis River, sludgy torrent. This fortified structure overlooked scrub and marshland south of Hive Hades ruins. The battle for the bridge saw the first direct clash between the Black Templars and the World Eaters. The remainder of Hellbrecher's forces were placed under the command of a Castellan Oza in order to assist in the purge of Hive Fordoris ruins. He would fight alongside the Krieg 74th Line Corps and several dozen other infantry, artillery and armoured regiments. The Season of Blood. Oh, look at that big old gateway. Chaos iconography. Here we go. The twisted mass of Hive Fordoris remnants rose of a race of Armageddon Secundus to dominate the cratered expanse for miles around. Ascara for Angron stood on the parapet of a captured trench line, the city at her back. Gripping her chainsaw tightly, she ran her tongue over lipless teeth and gums. Eagerly awaiting the inevitable violence to come, cowled masses of cultists flocked around her. Some wore little more than tattered rags and stained overalls, clutching makeshift weaponry encrusted in gore. Others were clad in Hive militia. Others were clad in a Hive militia's blood-stained and desecrated uniforms, or Astra Militarum regiment fatigues. All were coated in the blood, gore and filth of months of fighting. Beyond the trench line networks of squat bunkers, coiled wire and hastily dug trenches, crisscrossed the rubble-strewn approach to the Hive's ruined interior. The shells of burned-out armoured vehicles lay scattered around its perimeter, and to the west lay the wreckages of toppled Reaver Titan, a lake of radioactive fuel and leaked coolant pooled beneath its colossal mass. Hail the Red Angel, bringer of blood, breaker of chains. Ascara screamed over dim of gunfire. How does she say that? She's got no lips. It said she had lipless gums and teeth. She must be saying it like, Hail the Red Angel, bringer of blood. You can't even say blood without blood. 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 Breaker of chains. Yeah, she's trying to say a lot of B words there. And she has no lips. She has no lips. Before then, the first wave of the attackers waded through the toppled titans, spilt lifeblood. Most were clad in long coats of dull grey, their features obscured by rebreathers. Kriegsmen! The lenses of which glowed eerily as they advanced. Ascara's cultists unleashed volleys of auto gunfire into the mass of soldiers. Wisps of crimson drifted across the shimmering surface of the toxic mire. Ascara sucked a lungful of air through her gritted teeth and raised her weapon. With a guttural howl, she pointed the chain blade towards the advancing soldiers and signalled for charge. A chorus of wild screams erupted around her as hundreds of crazed cultists scrambled over the lips of trenches and hurled themselves at the advancing soldiers. Volleys of lasgun fire cut through the cultist throngs. I'm back to normal. Yay! The cupcats ended. Volleys of lasgun fire cut through the cultist throngs. Ascara felt a bolt tear into the flesh of her left arm. The pain barely registered above the pounding of her own heart. He's having a heart attack, oh no! The cultist smashed into the advancing soldiers before they could fire a second volley. Chain blades, clubs, auto pistols and makeshift blades were pitted against the enemy's bayonets. Ascara lost herself in the violence, ringing her chainsword sweeping across the flat, armoured guts of a wounded foe. The victim fell backwards, last gun falling to the ground as they clung to their ragged wound, trying desperately to prevent their entrails from spilling to the ground. The momentum of a cultist charge carried them splashing through the coolant lakes under the fallen titan, and on downward towards the opposing trench line. Ascara hacked and bludgeoned any foes caught in her path. The gargles and screams of the wounded and dying mingled with the booming explosions of incoming mortar rounds and the crack of last gunfire. Cowled cultists tumbled bonelessly down the ski slope, twitching as the life fled their bodies. The skies above reflect. They should have given them bones. What's the point of having cultists without bones? What do you expect them to do? I know what it meant by bonelessly. It basically meant they just flopped. The skies above were aflame. Angular dropships screamed through the ashen clouds, leaving dark contrails in their wake. Drop pods fell like fragments of shattered asteroids. The fires of atmospheric entry licking from their plated hulls. Some were plucked from the sky by streaking missiles. Moles plunged through the hails of flak to slam into Armageddon's toxic earth. Ascara bludgeoned, skewered, and butchered her way forward. She felt the ground beneath her feet tremble. A shiver ran through her spine, and her skin tingled. Across the front line, amid the slaughter, the fabric of reality began to slow away. Kicking another soldier aside, she brought her chainsaw down on top of his head. Shards of bone and wet brain matter splattered across her body. Above the scar, unreality welled like blood from a laceration. The sliver cut swiftly expanded into a ragged wound, through which a colossal winged figure tore, sweeping down before the charging cultists. A torrential afterbirth of blood and viscera fell with it, flooding trenches and sweeping stunned soldiers to their deaths. The demonic figure flexed its wings and gazed down upon the cowering combatants below. Cable implants split from his skull, writhing like a nest of metallic snakes. He raised its colossal blades and let out a roar of pain and fury that set Ascara's soul ablaze. Then he thundered forwards on iron hooves, trampling cultists and loyalist soldiers before soaring into the burning sky. Traces illuminated his diabolical form, and flak fire splashed harmlessly from his brass armour. The red monster roared, a primal bellow of apocalyptic rage that sent waves of fear through the trembling bodies. Ascara felt her muscles flex and swell. A red mist fell across her vision as she hacked through stunned opponents. The Red Angel had heard the call. The season of blood had dawned. Yeah! And then followed the season of fire, which is literally just when Armageddon gets so hot it has firestorms raging across the planet. And then Gaskell did his next war. Look, it's Angry One. It's Angry One. Look at him. That's the big old red being, although he's only grey here. Armageddon ablaze. The descent of the World Eaters upon Armageddon had thrown the ongoing Imperial offensive into chaotic disorder. As the blood flowed, so did the war. That art looked cool. That art is cool. There's lots of really cool. Look at his art. Oh, that's an evil man. That's an evil man. That's an evil man. That's an evil man. That's a dead evil man. No, those are cultists. There's a whole load of skulls. What else is that? And look, more cool art. That's a good person. He's a space wolf. Also good person. Also good person. Good person. probably a bad person. Yeah. Oh, that's the old Defiler model. SmolBossin. We're once again going back to boss model. Also, look, we got maps. And also, that's Angron, do you know, for a picture on his driver's license. Your driving license picture never looks good. Can we see Angron's model in here? We got planets. We got more blurry art. Angron's model must be... Oh, there he is. There's his model. And there's a generic bloodbuster. Oh, look. See, Warhammer's cool. Brian, you should take up Warhammer. I think it costs like an arm and a leg in Malaysia because, you know, it has to be shipped from Britain. So you should take up 3D printing, and then you can take up Warhammer. The descent of a World Eaters upon Armageddon. Oh yeah. With the remainder of a World Eaters fleet now positioned in low orbit above Armageddon, the invasion could truly begin. Bulk landers, drop pods, and landing craft of varying sizes and patterns drove from the skies, accompanied by packs of winged demon engines that fought aerial duels of Imperial fighters. For every landing vessel that spiraled to the surface engulfed in flames, dozen Moors made landfall and disgorged their deadly cargoes. I can't. I'm broke. I have magic for gathering cards. Oh no! Not magic! That's owned by Hasbro, isn't it? The majority of the invaders landed in the northern reaches of Armageddon Secundus. There they fortified the ruins of Hive Hades and Thodoris, erecting grotesque monuments to the blood god. These malefic idols wrought from... Oh yeah, so the god of war is also the god of blood, wrath, and skulls, and anger. He cares not from forever blood flows, only that it flows. Those malefic idols wrought from twisted metal, red stone, and remains of sacrificial victims were redolent with warp energies and served to empower and extend the demonic energies coursing across the planet from the warp scar at its northern pole. In Armageddon Prime, Logan Grimnar of the Space Wolves had taken command of disorganized Imperial forces. The Space Wolves are a Space Marine army. Yeet. So basically, giant modified humans in power armor. The World Eaters are evil Space Marines, powered by evil gods. Logan Grimnar is the leader of the Space Wolves. Yeah. That seems a bit obvious, but sometimes you'll have, like, not the leader. Like, the Space Wolves have, you know, armies everywhere. So sometimes you'll see from that you might have Blackmane leading somewhere, and you won't have Grimnar leading that place. But Grimnar's the leader of all of the Space Wolves.
It's better than Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
It's better than Nothing's better than Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Someone mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh. That means we need to open up. That means we need to open up this door. And we can go. And I can grab something random in here. This box. Random box is ancient. Oh, the ancient gears. Oh, look at this ancient gear golem. Chaos ancient gear giant. Ancient gear giant. Ancient gear giant. Ancient gear megaton golem. Ancient gear howitzer. 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 Ancient gear golem. Oh, look at all the ancient gear engineer. The hunting hound. Oh, ancient gear reactor dragon. Ancient gear catapult. Ancient gear fusion. Machine duplication. Overload fusion. Ancient gear knight. Oh. Ancient gear golem for ultimate pound. Yeah, it's got to give you an ultimate pounding. Oh, ancient gear castle. Ancient gear box. And another ancient gear gore frame. Oh. Cross-dimensional jewel. And look, there's ancient gear golem with a cross-dimensional jewel. Ancient Gear Box. Gear Town. Oh, Ancient Gear Castle. Oh, Reactor Dragon again. Riven. Ancient Gear Fusion. Oh, Ancient Gear Gadget. Of course. Hunting Hound again. Workshop. More Rivens. More Gear Town. This is well shuffled, doesn't it? Golem again. Oh, yeah. Polymerization. What does that do? Ancient Gear Hydra. Yeah. Look at all of them. Look at all of these beautiful cards. Oh. And what's the pack? Obviously, anime. Random thing. I don't know what that's from. A range of different colours. So nice. See, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh's amazing. Sorry, I got distracted. It's not very hard to distract me, isn't it? Actually, to punish Erland for saying Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks. Here we go. Here we go. Yay! Oh, get ready for Armageddon. Get ready for Armageddon. We're very close to Warhammer 40k Armageddon. A box that's packed with more Space Marines, arcs, and it's going to be available to pre-order very soon. Right, this is a great opportunity. It's a perfect Enterprise and Archeon are call. Oh yeah, by the way, these two books, but they're both the same books, just this is special edition, this isn't. You can order them. They're printed to order at the moment. 80 quid though. Expensive. 40 quid for this one. It's hardback, you get 2 books. Yeah, 40 quid for hardback 2 books isn't too bad. 80 quid for a premium edition though is crazy. Although it's got, look, it's got red edges. Both of them are made to order until like the 5th of June. Yeah, 5th of June here. So yeah. $100. $100. Yeah, it's expensive stuff. But I'm glad that they're doing more made to order stuff because scalpers suck. And they've been... I'm hoping that they're going to do that with more things. Like, it'd be really fun if they do another limited edition, like especially like with the models. And then immediately do a made to order, like 2 weeks later. That would be amazing. Because we need more stuff like that, to be honest. Just to completely screw over scalpers. They have done a few things like that, mind you, where they've been releasing stuff in a sort of drip feed, where it's like initial release while stocks last, they sell out, and then like a few days later, it's back in stock again, despite it being available while stocks last. Which is nice. It's made it so that it's really screwed over scalpers. Which more places need to do stuff like that. You need more. You need more. Okay, so these Black Templars are already engaged in so where had we reached? The majority of invaders landed the northern reach of Armageddon Secundus, so that's the second continent. Oh yeah, here we go. We got to Logan Grimnar. Had taken command of disorganized Imperial forces driven by treachery and eternal conflict, and set about putting down the active rebellion festering within the bowels of Hive Volcanus. So, oh yeah, hives are hive cities, which is basically like these giant towering cities that extend miles underground and miles into the sky. Usually they might house billions upon billions of people. Armageddon, though, has been through like 3 centuries of warfare and its population has dwindled drastically. And organising defensive troops in and around the Volcanus Mountains. Meanwhile, in Armageddon Secundus, Hive Marshal Helbrecht of the Black Templars. Oh yeah, Primus is the continent to the left, Never Eat to the west, and Secundus is the continent to the east. And Secundus is the most populated one. Also, I'm with the art in this book. Yeah, the art in Warhammer books is generally really good. The cover art isn't always amazing. Oh, this one is pretty nice art, to be honest. But the art within the books is always amazing. In a grip of civil strife, from this, had established its base of operations in Hive Infernus, the current seat of Armageddon's government, and a metropolis in the grip of civil strife. From this hive, its Black Templars were already engaged in campaigns to the south and east, seeking to recover and purge the ruins of Hades and Thoradis, which had fallen into traitor hands long before the Conqueror's arrival in low orbit. The push towards Hades' hive had ground to a stalemate around the Eumendes Bridge. Here, mobs of Khorne worshipping cultists and well-equipped traitor guard regiments had stubbornly resisted a grinding Astra Militarum advance. The deadlock was broken when the World Eater's landing vessels smashed down onto a colossal structure, unleashing packs of berserker. The relatively narrow span of the Eumendes Bridge impeded swift manoeuvring, preventing the loyalist defenders from bringing much of their heavier firepower to bear on the newcomers. Trapped between the entrenched heretic foes on the far side of the bridge and the rampaging berserkers to the rear, the Imperial defenders were swiftly hacked to pieces. Only the invention of Helbrecht's Crusader squads, aided by the prodigious firepower and might of the dreadnought brother Gunthal, prevented the complete rout. Whilst this battle saw thousands killed, the loyalists driven back to relative safety of Hive Infernus, it would be in the vicinity of Hive Thoradis that the pivotal fighting of the conflict opening phase would unfold. Castellan Hose of the Black Templars oversaw the Imperial push towards the ruins of Hive Thoradis, with the assistance of Colonel Kars, commander of the Krieg 74th Line Corps. It initially met with great success. Colonel Kars' council had restrained Castellan Hose's ingrained preference for aggressive strategies. Kars feared that should a direct assault above a traitor's position fail, the path may be opened for a swift counterattack across favourable terrain, potentially leaving Hive Angron at risk. Thus, it was decided that before engaging the traitors, a series of defensive positions should be established in this manner. Any heretic counterattacks could be broken before they gathered any momentum. This was a task to which Kars' combat engineers were well suited. Construction began with the Imperator Line Alphas, a formidable line of bunkers, gun nests and artillery emplacements, stretching miles across the ash waste to the southwest of Hive Thoradis. As the Death Corps soldiers completed their construction work, Holz's Black Templars led repeated forays into the heretic lines. Holzer and Kars' offensive pressed the dissenters back towards Thoradis' shattered mass. Kars' experience in trench warfare saw the loyalists utilize repeated artillery bombardment and swift trench raids to goad the enemy into ill-advised assaults. These disorganized and ill-disciplined attacks are beaten back by overlapping fire of heavy weapon teams and concentrated attacks undertaken by Black Templars and supported by heavier armor. Once seized, ground was fortified, with each advance adding a new layer of defense. Imperator lines, Bayron, Iota, Martis. These were but a handful of those slug fortified reinforced as the offensive ground forwards. Eventually, however, progress slowed. As the attackers closed in on Hive Thoradis ruins, they inevitably ran into heavier defences, and more disciplined heretic troops stationed in the southern and western fringe of the broken Hive. More disciplined heretic troops stationed in the southern and western fringes of a broken Hive proved far less susceptible to Kars' battling tactics. Also, Agents of Titan. The Grey Knight's witch site revealed to them veins of empiric corruption running through Armageddon's crust. Forewarned of a Red Angel's manifestation, they sent their sights upon locating and purging sites redolent with warp signature. Some journeyed into the equatorial jungle in search of Angron's monolith. Others were dispatched to the sites of forgotten battles. Some made use of the ongoing conflict to slip into the ruins of Hades and Fedoris, tearing down bloody icons to a blood god and assassinating any who consorted with demonic patrons. Yeah. Oh, look at that art. Wonderhawk. Because I really need a drink right now, so let me rest my throat and hydrate a little. Don't forget to hydrate yourselves too. Water. There you go. Oh my gosh, I just drank like almost an entire glass by accident. Less susceptible to Chorus's battle. By the his tactics proved less reliable against the traitor guardsmen. By the time Conqueror's massive bulk appeared in orbit, the offensive had become a static conflict between opposing trench lines. The descent to the World Eaters and their massive cultists removed any hope of a loyalist capturing their objective. Bolstered by teeming hordes of jackals and packs of berserkers, the heretics were resurgent, pushing back the combined Imperial army with repeated attacks. With each violent death inflicted, the swell of empiric energy battering the fabric of reality increased in intensity. When the barriers of Reospace could contain it no more, the warp spilt forth its gushing tide of demonic fury. It was by this route that Angron stormed onto the surface of Armageddon once again. Already hard-pressed, Imperial forces fighting in the vicinity of Boradis were caught flat-footed by the Red Angel's manifestation. He plummeted from blood-red skies and swept through successive waves of Death Corps infantry. Tides of demons followed in his wake, thrusting into reality like behind the Imperator line. Mortis. Slavering fiends mounted atop brazen steeds thundered through glowing rifts to smash into exposed flanks of armoured vehicles at the Imperator line Primus, the foremost defensive position. Canine monstrosities bound into loyalist trenches, ripping and tearing, until their spiked thrills and maws were coated in visceral. Right, it's not meant to be the demons ripping and tearing, it's meant to be the Doomslayer. Bloodletters loped forward to hack off the heads of stunned soldiers and take them as macabre trophies. In the hours that followed Angron's manifestation, Horsa and Kar's armies were driven back across the ground. They had spent days seizing. First fell Imperator line Primus, followed swiftly by Mortis, Iota, and Pharaon. The bodies of Astromilitum soldiers and heretics littered each seeded trench line and blasted expanses of no man's land. Everywhere Angron struck, the line bowed again, threatening to collapse entirely and clear the way for a heretic assault on Acheron. The survivors briefly rallied at Imperator line Pharaon, repelling a concentrated assault consisting of berserkers and tides of mutant cultists. By this time, Horus and Kars were all that remained of the combined army's senior command structure, and the fighting strength of the units under their command had been depleted almost by half. Angrily, Horus signalled a general retreat to Imperator line Alphas. As the last Greek soldiers fled their positions and heretics scrambled over ramparts and barricades, Horus called down artillery strikes and orbital bombardment on vacated positions. He hoped the resulting conflagration would buy enough time for the survivors to beat and oddly treat the last and most formidable line of defence. The defence of Vulcanus. So this is back on the other continent. Back on the western continent. This was on the eastern continent. Where were we? So that's 5 for Connors, which is in the east. Equatorial Jungle is here. And then on the other side of Equatorial Jungle, we came down here, where they were fighting between Angron and Hive Hades. Or was it Theodorus? It was over here. Yeah. Around here was the fighting was going on. But we're now back in Volcanus to the east. Of the many threats to Hive Volcanus by orcs and traitors, the most prominent came from the south. There the Volcanus' 4th Army, the majority of which had been drawn from the Steel Legion, Foystrom Firstborn, and Asani Voidshark regiments was mobilised throughout the plains of Anfand. The primary reason for stationing forces on the plains of Anfand had been to prevent enemy forces from breaking through the lightly defended foothills south of the Volcanus mountain range and reaching the Mannheim Gap, one of the few navigatable passes through the Volcanus mountains. These regiments, battle-hardened by years-long campaigns scouring the Mannheim Gap and Volcanus mountains of orcs, were forced into actions once more when World Eater's landing craft slammed down on the western fringes of the Equatorial Jungle. Far from the gun batteries of High Volcanus, there they unloaded their contingents of frenzied cultists, demon engines, armoured vehicles, and warriors from the Forsworn and brazen butcher warbands of Forsworn from Skyrim. Several weeks before the assault, fully half of Volcanus' 4th Army had extracted from their positions at the eastern fringe of the plains and redeployed north of High Volcanus to deal with renewed orc pressure from Hive Tempestora and the Equatorial Jungles. With the remaining troops unable to cover the northern and eastern plains, a decision was made to pull the remaining defenders back closer to the Volcanus mountains. 3 layers of defence were retained, 2 outer layers of defence, the Horitium and Meridian lines, faced east and south, respectively. Both were lightly defended and positioned less than 100 miles from Volcanus mountains. Given the lack of orc incursions in recent years, the Imperial defenders were ill-prepared to repel a heavy assault. The third and most formidable defensive position, the Volcanine Wall, had been positioned to block any attempt to bypass the mountains and reach the Mannheim Gap beyond, and was situated within range of a powerful ordnance built into the eastern-facing slopes of the Volcanus mountains. Oh, we saw that when we were reading about the orcs attack. When the attack came, the remnants of the Volcanus' 4th Army had only partially completed its westward withdrawal. Coordinate assailants capitalised upon the Loyalist disorder and lack of heavy firepower, utilising armoured transports to overrun and destroy straggling units before they could reach their assigned lines. Attacks on the Horitium and Meridian lines followed, whilst a smattering of heavy weapons positioned at the front line accounted for some of the heretic transports. Dozens smashed through tank traps and minefields to disgorge their cargo of ravening cult warriors. Arcane Focus. From the ruins of Thoradis, the cratered wreckage of Hades, the soils of equatorial locations and other locations, the Fifth Brotherhood sought accursed relics from the First War of Armageddon. So the Fifth Brotherhood is the Grey Knights, the Demon Hunters. Marvin's hoped. Such precious artifacts Marvin hoped would contain slivers of Angron's essence, which the Fifth Brotherhood could utilise as foci for a grand ritual of exorcism. This arcane undertaking would draw out the lingering traces of corruption left by Angron's first invasion of the planet's crust, and weaken the bonds that held the Red Angel's gate open. 8 such shards would be required, or so the Fifth Brotherhood's librarians claimed. Yeah. Oh, Black Templars. Look at those cool people up at the top. Oh. Sword Brothers and Blade Guard. The hero of Hell's Reach. Amongst the Black Templars who returned to Armageddon at Hellbritch's side was Merrick Grimaldus, High Chaplain of the Black Templars. With Hellbrecher's approval, Chaplain Grimaldus returned to Hell's Reach, the site of his infamous defense of the Temple of the Empress Ascendant. When the World Eaters descended upon Armageddon, he led the successful defense of the Hive, its mere presence inspiring its populace to fight with incredible resolve. Some state that Hell's Reach's reference for the Reclusiarch prevented heresy from taking root within the Hive's walls, starkly contrasting Armageddon's other hives. Yeah, Grimaldus being Grimaldus. There's a book called Hell's Reach if you ever want to read it, which is about Grimaldus. He's a pretty cool dude. Or Black Templar anyway. Emboldened by combat stims and sheer unbridled fury, the traitors recklessly launched themselves on their enemies. The Meridian Line held for several days. That's surprising because they had titans there. The loyalists managing to push back wave after wave of cultists and traitors. Resistance came to an end when the Oratium Line crumbled beneath the ferocity of a Khanate onslaught. Trench lines, pillboxes and command bunkers falling one by one, and leaving each surrounded by rat piles of ruined corpses. This allowed the heretic assailants to push south, striking the Meridian Line for the flank and rear. With the position now untenable, the retreating loyalists formed makeshift battle groups. They struck west, attempting a breakout that saw most of their armor and heavy equipment abandoned to the enemy. Relief came from an unexpected quarter. The World Eater's arrival and other orbital battles that accompanied it had not escaped the notice of the orcs of the equatorial jungle. Determined not to miss out of the escalating violence, the battle-hungry Xenos surged out of their mech workshops and scrap cities and struck west. The first waves of orcs led by customized vehicles of speed freaks again. Because they're the ones that fought with Rastaka in the most recent war of Armageddon, engaged the rearmost heretic units in running battles. In the following days, the Beastnagger tribe of the Porungi Bossin stampeded out of the equatorial jungle and thundered to join the fighting. The threat posed by the orcs drew traitor units away from the Volcanian Wall, leading their strength long enough for the Meridian and Oratium lines survivors to reach the Volcanian Wall. As news of the onslaught reached Logan Grimnar, he dispatched what reinforcements he could spare to bolster the defense of the Volcane. Is that Volcanine? I think it might be Volcanine Wall, sweeping over Volcana's mountains. A trio of Space Wolf dropships plummeted to land amidst the Imperial defences and deployed Bloodclaws and Grey Hunters squads. So Bloodclaws are basically their newest recruits, and Grey Hunters are veteran warriors. Hi IRS, how you doing? No, why do people keep wanting to turn me into Cupcake Cat? No! Meow. Yeah. With the Khanate assault slowed by the Ark advanced, Grimnar's warriors could launch several successful counterattacks that drove the enemy east. The shattered remains of the Ortian and Meridian lines became the sites of brutal three-way struggles between loyalist regiments of the Astra Militarum, the World Eaters, and the rampaging forces of myriad petty Orc warlords. Yeah. Don't throw stuff at me. Why did you turn me into a cat and throw stuff at me? There's a bear in there. Oh gosh. After 3 bloody days of vicious fighting, the Great Wolf received word from Field Marshal Kesseron of the Volcana's 4th Army, confirming that the situation, while still somewhat precarious, had been stabilised. The Mannheim Gap would hold at least for now. Meanwhile, within a Hive Volcanus, the Great Wolf scout packs continued to root out and destroy the coordinate cult cells hidden in the Hive's barrels. So, remember, it's not bomb anymore, it's a mega jump. Mega jump! It's because it kept getting hidden. Yeah, I have to type mega jump now, iOS. Stinky, stinky. I'm not stinky. Also, the stinky command doesn't really work when I'm a cat because the cat can't cry. Cats don't have tear ducts. I'm sorry. Oh. I was about to say, I can't remember. Oh yeah, Space Wolf Scouts are also elites. Most Space Marine chapters for Scouts are like the newest recruits. Oh my gosh, look at all the poor cupcakes. I included by a matter of fact. The great... Yeah, the Scout packs for the Space Wolves, though, are elite veterans. Like super elite, even more elite than the Grey Hunters. Continue to root out and destroy carnate cult cells hidden in the house bowels. For North, the World Eaters, having landed in large numbers, pressed towards Volcanus. Demonic hordes came forth at their side. The Bloodthirster, Sulcor, leading tides of bloodletters and blood crushers in repeated assaults on the outer defences. So Bloodthirsters are basically the biggest, evilest carnate demons. Bloodletters are the basic ones. And blood crushers are the basic ones, riding weird demonic steeds called juggernauts, are made out of metal. The demons' attacks were only halted when Logan Grimnar and his wolf guard launched cavalry assaults. Their cavalry are either references for Thunderwolf riders, so they literally ride giant wolves, or refers to from just riding in mechanized armored vehicles and stuff. Could be either. Assaults that cut through to engage Salakar directly. The fighting was savage. Thunderwolf cavalry, so it was Thunderwolf cavalry, crashed headlong into the Bloodcrusher counterparts. The Great Wolf joined the fight, engaging in bloody duel. The Great Wolf is Logan Grimnar, with their Sulkar that ended with the axe Markai buried into the demon's horned skull. With the Bloodthirster's demise, Volcanus' northern perimeter was secure. Yeah, if a Bloodthirster dies, the rest of its demons are going to lose a lot of them, you know. Reason to fight, and they might even weaken their ability to manifest into the world and be banished. Defeat at Hades' Hive. Angron's manifestation at Vardis struck a disaster blow to the Loyalist efforts to seize the Hive's ruins. It also served to draw many heretics towards the Red Angel's rampaging. Taking advantage of the thinning enemy numbers near Hades' Hive, the High Marshal and his sword brothers led a second assault on the Amandi's Bridge, intending to exploit the resultant gaps in the foe's lines. This time, they were aided by a pair of titans of the Legio Crucis, the Warlord Titan Cataphractis Pugnus and Ira Ferrum, supported his attack, levelling the heretic positions with devastating missile volleys and obliterating cultists with Gatling blasters beneath the lumbering titans. The Chimera transports for Armageddon Steel Legion ground their way across the corpse-laden bridge, over coils of barbed wire and into traitor defense positions, where they deployed Chem-mass soldiers to seize ground. Hellbridge's Crusaders lent aid wherever their advance faltered, burning out stubborn foes with their pyroblasters and meeting the furious charges of the Berserkers with their own brand of zealous rage. Several hours of bitter fighting later, the last of the traitors had driven from the Yemendes Bridge. However, the Loyalists pushed towards Hades' Hive would soon be impeded, just as in the vicinity of the Thoradis blood. Blood spilling shattered reality, allowing infernal entities to tear their way into the fray. Demons emerged from the storm-racked skies and plummeted into the Imperial lines. The demons were not alone. World Eaters bulk landers plunged the heavens to land across the breadth of the colossal crater that had once been Hades' Hive. From the bellies of these monstrous landers strode a trio of Chaos Titans, their colossal bulks adorned with profane iconography and bristling with warp-corrupted weaponry. Titans are absolutely massive. Imagine the Statue of Liberty just laden with guns made twice as broad and is now, you know. And by laden with guns, I mean giant guns. The monstrous war engines lumbered forward, unleashing an apocalyptic volleys towards the loyalist counterparts. Ira Ferrum bore the brunt of the onslaught, void shields flickering and collapsing under the terrifying onslaught. Barrages of corrupted missiles exploded against the Titan's hull, cracking steel reams of warp energy burning their way through the armor and cabling. With Ira Ferrum crippled, Cataphractus Pugnus was forced to turn its attention to protecting its stricken ally. Hellbretch and his Crusaders charged forwards, braving the Titan's duel to engage demonic foot soldiers beneath. The High Marshal's blade wove a silver tapestry of destruction, taking the heads from dozens of demons. The clustered ranks of Astra Militarum soldiers that formed the majority of his forces, however, were decimated by the Titan's fire. Amidst this bloodshed, Stryborn Flinty and his Space Wolf battle brothers announced their arrival, their storm moves alighting atop one of the traitor Titans. Cutting their way inside the Chaos Titan's armored shell, the Space Wolves fought their way through its crew and bands of berserkers to plant motor charges on the monster's tainted reactor before fighting their way free of the doomed Titan. The subsequent detonations of a war machine's volatile core tore the heart out of the heretic force, consuming mortal cultists in atomic fire and casting demonic entities back into the warp. The victory, however, was short-lived. The losses suffered by Hellbretch's armies were so significant as to prevent them from continuing their advance. Instead, the battered survivors withdrew towards the relative safety of Hive and Furnace to regroup, rearm, and plan the next offensive. For Goth, the Grey Knight raids upon cultist holdfasts and excavations of sites of power saw them seize a bounty of relics. Foremost amongst those were the shards of Angron's former weapon, the Black Blade, which shattered before his banishment at the climax of the First War of Armageddon. The shards of his accursed demon sword would provide the Templars of Titan with foci that they required. Prior to his return to Armageddon, Angron resolved to ensure that this time his onslaught would not be ceased by mortal hands. The passage of time meant little to him. Empiric beings like him meant little to an empiric being like him, and the stinging memory of his prior defeat remained war. Thus, at his command, demonic agents had impelled mortal thralls to construct several pyramidal monoliths all across the nightmarish expanse of the fire wastes. These structures, positioned on 8 ley lines running from the Red Angel's Gate, served to channel the rampant energies of a warp through Armageddon's strata. Such structures would also be raised into ruins of Thordis and Hades. Thus, as Angron's invasion began, blood flowed and the lives were snuffed out, so would these unholy constructs drink deeply of the combatants' anger, channeling resonant emotional energy into the warp rift and expanding the aura of unreality that followed in Angron's wake. It fell to the commanders of various World Eaters warbands to marshal the Helvetic Alliance, and none were more prominent than slaughter-bound Jarok Skriel. The butcher's nails pounded incessantly in Skriel's mind, joining his greater demon possessor in demanding blood. Yet Skriel retained enough clarity of thought to deploy his forces with the tactical precision of any Space Marine commander. At his order, a corps of cultists and renegades were deployed to the fire wastes to accompany positions long abandoned by the loyalist defenders and further fortify the demonic bastions surrounding the Red Angel's Gate. Goremongers were dispatched to the frigid deadlands at Armageddon's South Pole. They would strike at aqua processing plants, denying the planet's besieged hives purified water. of a coastal island surrounding the fireways, great Astra-Militarum regiments seized prison complexes and oil refineries, finding an influx of recruits and further straining the local imperial war machine. These targeted strikes had the secondary effect of drawing imperial forces away from the northern reaches of Armageddon Secundus, where the main thrust of the World Eaters had been focused. Skriel's 8-round exploited the chaos of their advance, forcing the warp to thrust themselves into the heaviest fighting and reap a terrible tally. Of skulls. Yeah. I never realised that they were, like that. What are they called? 8-bound. Look at that beautiful art, by the way. This is a blood crusher. Generic demon on top of big old. It's a lot of 6-7. No, stop doing 6-7, you guys. Fire, don't encourage them. Okay, there's your little thing. It's down there. How is your little gamba going? Gold? Oh, maybe you should do 6-7. My goodness, you got the triple gold pile. How much is that? We're going to have to wait for it to tell you how much you want. Yeah, but this is a blood crusher. This is called a juggernaut. It's made out of metal. It's not a demon armored in metal. It's literally a demon made out of... It's called a demon engine. Yeah. Oh, you got 2 6-8. I gambled so much and only won with 6-7. 6-7? I mean, maybe. If that's how you win. 6 is the holy number of the god of excess, Slanesh, who likes gamblers. I need a drink. For service. Rather than intervening directly in the main battles against the World Eaters and subversive cults, the Grandmaster Marthanes and his Fifth Brotherhood exploited the bloody turmoil, the Grey Knights, dividing their forces to achieve a range of esoteric objectives. In the Cuptle jungle, Librarian Lothric followed the Red Angel's psychic spore. He and his battle brothers fought through the feral orc population to reach Angron's primary monolith, where they enacted a ritual of cleansing. They should have done that years ago, anointing the structure of the blood of sacrifice. Sacrifice made sacred nulls, whilst Librarian Lothric chanted the invocation of purification. But when it says nulls here, it's not talking about null oil. Nulls is a term used to refer to a type of person. So sometimes a person is born and they're a psyker. Everyone's mind and soul is linked to the warp to some extent in 40k. But psychers are super heavily linked to the warp, and they can channel the warp through them to do basically magic. They're basically space wizards. The nulls, though, are the exact opposite. They seem to... They are like anti-warp. Their souls kind of don't exist in the warp, but if they do, it does something funky. And what occurs with nulls is that everyone around them always feels kind of uncomfortable, as your own soul's connection to the warp, or more accurately, your body's connection to the warp, your own soul, is weakened. But demons find this even worse, as they struggle to exist in the presence of these nulls. They're called null because they basically nullify the warp. And while nulls are rare, they're very useful for fighting against chaos. Even their blood, sanctified. Oh, it says sacrificed. Why did I read that as sanctified? Sacrifice nulls. Oops. Yes, sacrificed. My dyslexia messed up there. It says sacrificed. Oh my gosh. The nose, well, yeah, the blood of sacrificed nose is enough to like really mess up with the warp energies and stuff. So, yeah, Warhammer, as they say, it's grimdark. Where did my, oh, there it is. It's getting super warm again, air conditioner. Whilst Librarian Lothric chanted for invocation of purification. I think it's because that's their purification stuff. I just read that as sanctified. That's why I struggled reading it. As the ritual concluded, the trees erupted into life. Frenzied chaos spawn and enraged mutants emerged from the foliage to throw themselves upon the Grey Knights. All met their ends at the edge of Nemesis blades. Psychic weapons. The cleansing of a monolith cut loose but one of the empiric strands binding the Red Angel's essence to Armageddon. Yet many more remained to be severed if a world were to be rescued from the brink of ruin. Oops, I just knocked over a bunch of Space Marine models. Moving them out of the way. Meanwhile, Taurus Angron, brother captain of the Fifth Brotherhood, devised methods of destroying Angron's physical form. He led purification squads in assaults on the ruins of a Diabolus Force complex. This sprawling mass of destroyed manufactorums stretched across Diablo Mountains east of Hive Furnace. Deep beneath its remains, so that the archives of Titan claimed. Deep beneath its remains, so the archives of Titan claimed. Oh, wait, the Titan is a planet the Grey Knights come from. So the archives of a planet they come from claimed that deep beneath the remains of Hyphen Furnace lay a cache of weapons. These relics of the Dark Age of technology had long been sealed away by the agents of Adeptus Mechanicus, and knowledge of their existence had become lost even to the most learned of the Martians' adepts. The Adeptus Mechanicus come from Mars. Destroying the scattered Ark mobs that made their homes within, Angron's strike force battled its way to the heart of the destroyed forge. I like how the demon hunters aren't out there fighting demons. Instead, they're just fighting through orcs. Battled its way to the heart of the destroyed forge complex. Locating beneath the rubble a subterranean labyrinth, a lightless passages concealed by layered shroud shields. At the centre of a maze, they found the fault they sought, and disabling its status field, forced entry. Within, they uncovered rack upon rack of black-capped warheads. The devices were vortex missiles, weapons capable of tearing apart the fabric of reality and plunging all caught in their blast into the raging tides of a warp. Vortex missiles still exist in 40k. They're quite often used. With extreme caution, the warheads were removed from the missiles and secured for the next stage in Angron's strategy. Maybe these are like special vortex missiles. As his battle brothers completed their assigned missions, Marvens led his band of warriors onto the burning expanse of fire wastes. There he set himself to locating and where possibly sundering profane beacons and monuments erected in Angron's name. Other Grey Knight strike teams were dispatched to Hades and Thoradis, infiltrating those heretic strongholds to slay cult demiurges and tear down warp-infused idols. These efforts serve to slow the spread of corruption. If a true victory were to be achieved, however, the Grey Knights would need to request broader aid and draw Armageddon's other Imperial forces into their esoteric war against the unreal. Yeah. They set themselves. So they're just trying to locate and destroy monuments. And get rid of cultists. Okay. So Marvane's had the most boring job, it feels like. The burning of Infernus. By the time Hellbrecher's battered forts had completed their retreat to Hive Infernus following the failed assault ruins of Hades' Hive, the skies over Armageddon's northern hemisphere glowed an ominous red. The air fizzled with static as empiric atmospheric storms fronts clashed. Imperator Line Alphas held for now, but the situation remained dire. The violence that had been unleashed... Sorry, I just lost myself. Violence that had been unleashed was a blazing lure to the demonic mortal. To the demonic. Mortal anger, fear and pain had opened fresh rents in real space, through which the Blood God's legions tore their way into reality and slaughtered Armageddon's defenders. Many of Infernus's defenders had been drafted to join the High Marshal's offensive, significantly contributing to a breakdown in the law and order within the Hive. To Helbrecht's disgust, Cornate cultists had overrun Infernus's quay, smearing the profane symbols across the dockyards and grounded vessels and stringing the leaving schools of their victims on loading cranes and gantries. Half of the Saflar regiments stationed within the Infernus South Forge complex had turned upon their former allies. The Saflar! Wait, isn't the Saflar Chemdogs? Is it the Saflar Chemdogs or is it Salvar Chemdogs? Yeah, it's the Saflar Chemdogs! No, I love the Saflar Chemdogs. Okay, they are all from a prison planet. So, and they are known for backstabbing and looting. And one of the reasons they fight is promise of loot. So maybe you shouldn't trust the backstabbers to not stab you in the back, but still. Half of the Saflar? Why was only half of them? Regiments stationed around Infernus South Forge complex had turned up on their former allies, stoking the fires of a bloody urban conflict that had drawn defensive units away from the Stygian bulwark. This in turn threatened to allow the resurgent orcs of the Pelidus Mountains to swarm the walls and break into the forges. To Helbrecht, whose ire had already been raised by defeat, such blasphemy against the God Emperor was unforgivable in his eyes. The embattled district's populations were beyond salvation. Rallying his crusaders, he began a brutal purge of Infernus's outer districts. No distinction was made between friend and foe. Those districts that had fallen to the heretics and rebels were scoured of life. Oh no! Helbrecht! No! Stop being a stop your Black Templaring! Yeah, the Black Templars are not nice in general. Helbrecht is one of the nicer ones, but Grimaldus, I know. Though the millions had been slain, the deaths confronting the Red Angel. Though millions had been slain, the deaths of traitors and heretics served only to increase the tideswell of the warp energy battering Armageddon. Hive Infernus and Acheron were on the brink of failing. Now, Grandmaster Morphane knew was the time to reveal the Grey Knight's presence to the beleaguered allies and to enlist their aid in the final stages of his plan. Morphane's issued communiques to a handful of Imperial commanders, including Logan Grimnor and High Marshal Helbrecht, a smattering of inquisitorial agents, and Princeps Matos Colanis of the Legio Crucius. In the command sanctum of the Grey Knight's battle barge, Right Sword, the holographic avatars of embattled commanders appeared before him. Most looked upon him with consternation. Yeah, none of these guys have had good times with the Grey Knights in the past. Only Logan Grimnor betrayed a spark of recognition, for he alone had fought at the side of the Grey Knights and lived to possess their memory. I thought Helbrecht had fought alongside Grey Knights. But Logan Grimnor really did not like fighting alongside of Grey... Well, more accurately, the Grey Knights did bad stuff to Armageddon. Well, some of them did. Marvans addressed the hastily summoned council, speaking of the gravity of the situation. He proclaimed that if the Red Angel's gate could not be sealed, then the war could not be turned in their favour. Doing so would be no simple task. It would require Morphane's, explained, the assistance of all those he had gathered. In the following discovering, the simmering content between Grimnor and Helbrecht threatened to bubble over. The two exchanged barbs and accusing one another of derelictions of honour and duty. Yeah, they don't get along either. The Space Wolves don't get along with a great many other Space Marine chapters. The Grandmaster silenced their arguments with a raised fist. Such disagreements are counterproductive, he stated. Only by pooling their efforts remaining united could the Loyalists achieve victory. Marvanes continued, unveiling his plans. The primary threat to Armageddon was not, as some had argued, Angron himself, but the open warp wound at the heart of the Fire Wastes. The priority remained sealing this portal, a task for which only the Grey Knights were suited. To facilitate this, the Grandmaster explained Angron would have to remain distracted, and if possible be banished. Oh yeah, I should explain why no one likes the Grey Knights. So the Grey Knights are the demon hunters, but the Imperium for a long time had this motto effectively of demons don't exist. And if you do think they exist, you don't exist, or you won't for much longer. So whenever like the Grey Knights would come to a planet to aid them from demons, they would often be accompanied by purging of a local population. Basically anyone who fought the demons, anyone who knew of the demons. Not always directly purging them, sometimes it would be sterilization of the current population. Yeah, it's not nice stuff. Other times they would go, hey, those Sisters of Battle are quite holy, and you know, the demons don't like being near them, so let's kill them and use their bodies as basically shields to fight off the demons. So yeah, it's the Grey Knights are often looked down upon by other factions, especially those that don't think ignorance is a good idea. Which the Space Wolves generally don't like the idea of ignorance for the most part. Although they're very hypocritical on that point. Black Templars can be a throw of a dice whether they think, you know, people should be purged. Last time the Grey Knights were on Armageddon in the first war for Armageddon against Angron, after the battle, half of the Grey Knights agreed with the Inquisition that the planet needed to be purged of all knowledge of the demons. But the Space Wolves, including Logan Grimnar, had been there, and they did not agree and actively fought against the Grey Knights to prevent the purge. The purge was half done in the end. So yeah, that's why the Space Wolves and Grey Knights have a lot of beef with one another. But only half of the Grey Knights actually, you know, agreed with the purge, and the other half didn't even stop the Space Wolves from, you know, attacking the Grandmaster. Angron would have to remain distracted and if possible be banished. So to facilitate removing the portal, the Grandmaster explained Angron would need to remain distracted and if possible be banished. It was clear to all that the Imperator line would only hold the Red Angel briefly, yet perhaps the advance could be turned in the Imperium's favour. In the Diablo Mountains, Brother Captain Taurus Hendron and his warriors had cleared the Diabolus Forge complex of orcs. This sprawling structure stood in a formidable defensive position atop the range's highest peaks. Where was it? The Diablos Forge. Okay. The perfect site from which to stage defense. If a forge holding the Imperator line were to undertake a standard withdrawal westward, drawing Angron's army forward, skirmish by skirmish, then perhaps the traitors could be lured into a costly battle in the mountainous terrain that favoured the defenders. It was decided that Logan Grimnar and Marshal Highbranch would lead the complements of their warriors to bolster the defence. This would buy time for a second force to strike north, cross the boiling sea, and begin an offensive towards the Red Angel's Gate. Marvins, ably assisted by Princeps Calonis, Castellan Holzer, Colonel Carr's and Grimnar's deputy, Styborn Flinteye, would lead this second offensive. While the tension between Grimnar and Hellbreach remained palpable, the assembled leaders acceded to more than strategy and the enormous logistical task of manoeuvring Armageddon's armies began. The Diablo Mountains. Hellbreach and Grimnar's Space Marines arrived at the destroyed Diablo's Forge complex almost simultaneously. Battle Brothers of both chapters coordinated with platoons flooding in from Hive Infernus to prepare defences. Capturing reconnaissance regiments deployed in the foothills below laid minefields and prepared ambushes. Sentinels traversed mountainous terrain to reach forward vantage points. Communications were established with the aerodomes of Hive Infernus, enabling the defenders to call for aerial support. Hendon's Grey Knights withdrew to the shattered heart of the Forge complex, taking with them Tech Marines and adepts of the Adeptus Mechanicus. There they sought to access the hidden subterranean levels of the ruin, seeing to their own esoteric preparations for Red Angel's onslaught. Hair in my mouth. As planned, the retreat from the Imperator line was a staggered affair to keep the traitors engaged. Sacrificial counterattacks and rearguard actions were fought at every stage, drawing the enemy on. By the fifth day, more than half the retreating soldiers were out of action, butchered by the oncoming traitor army, or dead from sheer exhaustion. Their sacrifice, however, had the intended effect. When the last retreating loyalists entered the Diablo Mountain foothills, Angron's armies, vanguard elements, were miles behind them. As planned, loyalist artillery channeled the pursuing Carnate bodies into valleys already zeroed. As the traitors entered these killing zones, spotters concealed amongst the mountain tops gave fire orders. Thunderous barrages tore through the advancing Carnate armies. Avalanches spilt down from mountain slopes, burying heretics beneath tons of jagged stone. Still, the mass of augmented cultists and wild-eyed mutants surged forwards, those at the rear clambering over corpses of their fallen, to falling upon straggling loyalists. Though direct, the World Eater's advance was not without its own strategy. Angron knew a trap when he saw one. By his order, Gormonger packs scaled the sheer mountains to the west and north. Terrain the loyalist defenders considered impassable, and struck the rearmost Imperial fortifications. Many lost their grip and plummeted to their depths. Those that survived, however, were joined by packs of 8-bound, who burst from the Immaterium in showers of gore into gun pits and bunkers, slaughtering rear echelon squads and forcing frontline defenders to turn their attention away from the Carnate advance. With the aid of winged demon primarchs and airborne demon engines, most loyalist artillery was soon suppressed. Angron's forces were able to grind their way relentlessly toward the ruined forges, whilst the narrow debris-choked mountain passes rendered any assault by tracked armour impossible. Ambulatory demon engines faced no such difficulties, so ones with legs. Snarling mechanical monstrosities scaled loose scree and sheer cliff faces to tear open breaches into the Forge complex walls. Grimnar and Hellbreach kept most of their warriors in reserve, drawing the enemy further up the slopes and through prepared kill zones. The Great Roof had positioned his forces to cover the eastern approach. Supporting, lightly armed penal battalions and miasman red cowls dug in around the base of this complex. This formidable position afforded its long fangs broad fields of fire overlooking the slopes and valley below. Look at cool art. Long fangs, by the way, are space wolves with long-range weaponry like missile launchers.
So very late.
You're so very... Hi, Native Engine. Don't worry about being late. Yeah, long fangs... No, they're not just armed with long-range weaponry. They're armed with heavy weaponry. Like anti-tank stuff. Very, very, very powerful weapons. Armageddon's High Governor Armand von Ruger despaired of the Black Templar's merciless purge of Infernus. Fearing that the High Marshal's wrath would eventually turn upon the political class, the High Governor appealed to Logan Grimnar to reason with the vengeful Black Templars. Furious at Halbrecht's lack of restraint, Grimnar confronted High Marshal, demanding that Black Templar respect their duty to protect the Emperor's citizens. Halbrecht's response was curt and dismissive. He stated that the people of Armageddon had brought this disaster upon themselves, and this was no time for sentiment. The only way to stop the rot was to burn it out, root and stem, and so the purge of Hive Infernus continued apace, and pitiless bloodletting only served to further empower those demons of Khorne already present upon the ash wastes of Armageddon Secundus. No protest could stay the Black Templar's wrath. Yeah, it's not very good. Where's Angron? It's Angron! If I do that? No, that doesn't help. The art is much better in real life. It's very hard to actually get this to show up fully on camera. Oh! Oh no, I was about to say of those Kriegsmen, but no, they might be chaosy dudes. No, I think they're Kriegsmen. Or chaos dudes, it's hard to tell. Angron is absolutely massive in that image. It's like a Titan size, my goodness. Oh, he's much closer than he looks. The light-armed penal battalions and Mayasman. Oh yeah, there we go. Halbrecht and his crusaders, their strength enhanced by the presence of 3 dreadnoughts, oversaw the southern defences. Here the inclines were not as steep, but they were strewn with boulders and loose scrub that provided advancing cultists and world eaters with great cover. Even so, the first wave of Khanate cultists were felled long before they could reach the line. Following the assaults were impeded by corpses blocking their path. Oops. Only with the momentum of the traitor's assault slowed did Angron descend to battle, plummeting from the sky to land amidst the rubble on the eastern wall. He lashed out with his blades, splitting open Halbrecht's dreadnoughts and cutting down Black Templars by the dozen. As the violence increased, the Demon Primarch seemed to swell with power. Halbrecht's Black Templars were forced back from their position on and beneath the walls by the intensity of the onslaught. There they were joined by Logan Grimnar and his surviving Space Wolves, and together undertook a fighting withdrawal, moving back through the ruins of the Diablos Forge complex. As Angron's followers unleashed their fury upon the entrenched defenders, the Demon Primarch pursued the retreating Space Marines. He smashed his way through barricades and half-destroyed walls, outpacing his embattled Rory in his fury. He's embattled warriors in his fury. Honestly, the Black Templars are being really done in by this story. Like, the Space Wolves are like, oh, look how cool and heroic the Space Wolves are. Look at Logan Grimnar, he killed a Bloodthirster. Look at Halbrecht, he lost a Titan and his entire army died. Oh, now he's purging people and it's bad and it's helping chaos. And oh, look, Angron just easily deals with all the Black Templar dreadnoughts. Oh, if Logan Grimnar gets a killing blow on Angron, that would be evil. Oh, the Demon Primarch eventually found himself with the gutted remnants of a grime-slick furnace littered with discarded Archoid detritus and the corroded machinery. His burning gaze fell upon Taurus Hendron, the brother captain, and his bodyguard stood before him. So that's the Grey Knight, people. On the floor, traced in powdered silver and bone, was an unicusral hexagram. At each of the 6 points stood one of the conical vortex warheads, recovered by Hendron from the complex's subterranean faults. As Hendron intoned words of banishment, the Grey Knights opened fire with stormbolters and psi weapons. The impacts of these projectiles upon Angron's body stoked his fury further. He rushed forward, hateful and dismissive of his opponent's pathetic sorcery, proving the inconsequential nature of their occult symbols by smashing his way through them. The wards surrounding the circle the most powerful Angron could conjure, saw wisps of steam rise from Angron's body, seething and burning his flesh as he stepped fully inside. And as he did so, Angron reached for a detonator and thumbed the trigger. The binding circle had not been drawn as Angron had suspected, to ensnare him. Its purpose instead had been to contain most of the fury of the detonating warheads. Within a bubble of shimmering energy, rampant empiric forces tore the demon Primarch's farm asunder before collapsing with a thunderous crack. As a force field of psychically charged energy crumbled, a deafening rumble echoed through the forge's complex barrels. Quakes rippled through the mountains. Abyssal shafts split slopes. Slopes and swallowed cultists and heretics alike, loyalists and heretics alike. Thousands are buried beneath the collapsing mountains. Angron had been temporarily banished, but the price for such success had been terrible. The few loyalists fortunate enough to escape the apocalyptic destruction dragged themselves back towards the relative safety of Hive and Furnace. The outcome of the conflict now hinged upon their allies' hopeful success in the fire wastes. Okay, how much is actually left? Okay, there's quite a bit left of the story. Yep, there's quite a lot left. And there we go, there's the Crusade. So, we got quite a bit left. There's some Grey Knight artwork. Assaults on the fire wastes. Oh. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that the Black Templars got no really... The only person who got any heroic stuff was just a footnote of Grimaldus being cool. So, little bookmark in here. But yeah, Logan Grimnar and his Space Wolves got loads of cool stuff. And it's, like, I would have liked at least, like, Halbert and his Templar to have at least one cool moment before then. Like, sure, they can do for purging and whatever, but still, they are, you know, one of the factions of the story. You got Angron with all his cool moments, just absolutely destroying all the lines. You've got, what else was going on? Yeah, Angron just absolutely destroyed all the lines. Every defensive line. Smashed through Black Templar dreadnoughts, tore through Marines by the dozens. You got loads of cool moments. You had this random cultist got a really cool moment as well against the Kriegsman when Angron was summoned. So yeah. And the Imperial Titans also didn't really get a cool moment either. Well, they did. They just destroyed the enemy line. Yeah, even the Black Templars' assault, the initial victory that they had in their assault was completely, you know, it wasn't their victory. It was the Titans who got it before 3 Titans overwhelmed them. Well, apparently 3 Titans versus 2 Imperial ones. Both the Imperial Titans still survived. One severely damaged. Oh. So it's a bit like, even the Orcs got a cool moment, saving High Volcanus and its defenders from the blooming World Eaters. And presumably, if they took out those the World Eater Titans there. I guess the closest we got... No, that was more of a Kriegsman moment. Because it's like... The entire thing of, you know, moving forward to attack that one hive that ended up kind of faltering out. What they did being constant attacks. Attack. Force them into a counter-attack. Destroy them. Well, push forward, make defenses. Force them into a counter-attack. Destroy them with those new defenses. Attack back out. Now that they're weakened. Make new defenses. Force the enemy to counter-attack. That was a Kriegsman plan. The entire plan was done by the Kriegsman. I'd even mentioned that the Kriegsman had to convince the Black Templar of the plan. Oh. I feel like you could remove a Black Templar from the book and it would make absolutely no difference. I think, yeah, it was pretty much you could just remove them from it. It's like if you just removed the Black Templar who was the Kriegsman just does this plan and it succeeds until the World Eaters attack. rather than Helbrecht go launching out an attack to go and attack the place after Angron's attack was moving into the defensive lines there, and he came that direction. With 2 Titans, you could just say for 2 Titans march with an army, take the city. Ah. I mean, maybe we'll get a cool moment, but it doesn't look like it. I mean, maybe I'm just upset because I'm a Black Templar player. And, you know, I want my Black Templars to do some cool stuff. I understand that a lot of the time the Black Templar would also do a bunch of bad stuff, but so do the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights get to do their cool stuff, as well as doing bad stuff. Oh, this sucks. And the Black Templars were also just a footnote in, you know, for people who are coming to save the, what's it called? Armageddon. In the 5th War for Armageddon. With a new 11th edition. It's a Blood Angel. The Blood Angel's got the first mention. And then obviously Marnius Kelgar is coming in. And the Black Templars were just like a footnote mentioned. Maybe the new books, there will be something cool there. But it would be sad to see, like, the Black Templars, they fought in the 2nd and 3rd Wars of Armageddon. They were really important, especially at Hell's Reach. There's entire books about it. Half of our cool Black Templar lore comes from there. Oh. The rest of our lore is kind of, you know, just more. It kind of suck. I guess the thing with the Black Templars is, though, is that there's always an infinite number of Black Templars. Well, not quite infinite, but, you know, if any chapter can have, like, just lose 100 of its elite troops and not really care and be just completely fine the day afterwards, it's a Black Templars. They're like the most disposable chapter there is in terms of all that stuff. Oh, it's because Black Templars have at least 6,000 soldiers. Every other chapter has 1,000. And there's even rumours that they might have many times that number. Potentially up to 10,000 or whatever. So yeah, also because of the entire way of doing squires and stuff, it's not a neophytes. But they do replace their numbers pretty easily. And they're just all over the galaxy. Comparatively, while the Space Wolves have about 1,300 soldiers, a bit over, and they do also hide their numbers, you can't really have them taking too many casualties because they struggle to replace them. They don't have lots of successor chapters like the Ultramarines to recruit from, and they only recruit from one world. The Black Templars recruit from hundreds of worlds. So yeah. I guess when they do need, you know, somebody... when they need a Space Marine chapter to... That's not for Lamentous. To be a bit of a punching bag in any given conflict. It can be for Black Templars. So that's a bit sad. I wasn't even aware too much of the Black Templars were in here, because obviously they're not on the front of the book, it's the Grey Knights. And on the back... and I saw that there's a little bit of them here. But again, it's a little bit... These guys are Space Wolves. These guys are the Carnate World Eaters. That's Angron. That's Logan Grimnar for Space Wolves. These guys back here are all Space Wolves. Except at the very back, they're Grey Knights. Who's stood up there? Oh, that's a Space Wolf up there. Grey Knight thing there. Chaosy stuff here. And they're all Space Wolfy stuff. But that's Black Templar, and these guys in black and white are also Black Templar. So, yeah. I knew they'd have a minor part. But even Helbrecht isn't even in this picture. Yeah, how Bridge is meant... I wasn't even aware how Bridge was on for planet because he's not in this picture. And I had seen the pictures of those involved on the planet. Which one is it? It's not this one. I had seen this image, so I wasn't even aware that Albert was here because of basically see I didn't read these bits, but I'd seen this. So yeah. Ooh, this is some old school artwork. Oh, and here's the cover art of the book. But full double page spread version. The issue with double page spreads is, you know, the big old center. The great grey knight. He looks so sad. Aww. Yeah. So, that's the book for now. We'll continue reading this probably next week because it looks like the pre-orders for Armageddon are coming up next week. So, we'll finish reading this book, figure out just how Angron died. I didn't actually expect it to like have a full crusade in here. I expected it to like have leading up to the crescendo of the crusade, like the biggest point of a battle, and then, you know, you'd have the crusade rules for like so how you can fight in it. But yeah, no, it just have straight up past the because I've never had one of these crusade books before. We've had the other ones for an end of 11th edition, which are very open-ended. It generally tells you how the crusade is going at the start. Like the Eye of Terror one, we saw them reach Agrippina, where they did stall. The crusade did stall. They got defeated for Iron Warriors. But it wasn't like a straight up full-on defeat that they're gone now. It's like, no, they've got multiple forces active all over this place. This is an ongoing battle from this point onwards. And equally, we had that with the... Oh, what are they called? Not Eye of Terror. I mean, the Armageddon one obviously is open-ended. The entire campaign was about him trying to get a signal out, which he did. And now if the forces are descending onto Armageddon, not this Armageddon, the next campaign book. The one we've already read. What was the one? We've not read 500 Worlds. Although I did read a little bit ahead on that one. The Maelstrom campaign was also... It didn't even have like a reaching a crescendo. It just told us about all the stuff that's going on in the Maelstrom. And it was like... Imperial forces are active in the Maelstrom. This is where lots of fighting's going. And due to the opening of a Great Rift and recent things that are occurring, there's even more fighting here now than before. And again, it's very open-ended. I think the 500 Worlds campaign as well ends relatively open-ended. So I didn't expect this one to not be... I expected this one to be open-ended and we only know what happened at the end because in the book after this one, the current Armageddon Crusade book, it tells you how it ended in a couple of footnotes. But yeah... So anyway, we've gone a bit over time now. Thank you for coming to the stream today. I hope you have a good rest of your days. I'm going to probably try finish painting these. I'm very close to finish them now. I just need to get some typhus corrosion on the end of the guns, on the feet, and, you know, where is he? Onto these bits here, because... Except for dust, unfortunately, it doesn't really make this look too much more dusty. We need to get some more grime on them. Also, just get some typhus dust onto the that typhus corrosion onto the armor and stuff. It really helps just add this look of them being all battered. Like here, that's typhus corrosion there. I think I went a bit overboard on that one, but still, it's fine. I'm gonna need to go back over all of my old Space Marines. Thankfully, a lot of my old Space Marines that we've painted, I already painted some of the Templar symbols gold, but I'm gonna go back over and paint them all gold. Although I might leave the ones that are white. Because I do like the look of that, and also it was a lot of effort trying to get that white to work. So yeah. Other than that, I've got a stream tomorrow. We'll be painting Mechanicus models. Yeah, for blue Canicus. And then next week, I'm not sure what we'll be doing next week. We'll probably be finishing reading this book. There's not too much left of it. Because, I mean, but while it does show that we're not even halfway through the book, most of this is just rules for playing campaigns. By the way, if you do find this book, it's still in stores. You can find it at relatively good prices. It's got all the lore in it, and the rules of the campaign are still going to be applicable throughout 11th edition. So if you want to play any of these fun missions in here, which there are some fun looking ones, like it has warp defense in this one. So unbound adversaries at the start of each battle, the players roll a d6 and a 5+, set up an unbound adversary unit hold within 6 inches. Unbound adversaries are basically demons who... does it show the rules of the demons in here? Here we go. Yeah, these are just random demons that will appear in the battle. So like these are lesser demons here. And they'll basically be running about under neither player's control. Really cool stuff. So, big love hearts to you. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Remember to work hard but play harder. Eat good food, sleep well, dream of cupcakes but don't eat for cupcakes as friends, not food. And also take care of yourselves, be kind to others, and vice versa. Goodbye, everyone. Love you all. Smash! Yay! And don't forget to like the stream, please.